Hello. Just getting started. Iceman, mic check.
I'm good right now.
All right. We're just getting started, folks, so please give us a chance to warm up. If you can, please retweet the room so that other people can see it. And again, we're just getting warmed up, so have patience. If you'd like to take a mic, please do so or request one, and I'll send one out to you.
Yeah, there we go. I finally got my headset to link. I'm told that my other mic on my phone sounds like crap as of lately. I don't know why. My apologies for not telling some nice humor or anything like that. I'm shoveling food in my face so that I'm all together when we get busy. Like my partner here said, anybody that wants a mic right now, just let us know and I'll gladly throw it in your direction.
Yeah, I was just sending out some invites to some people, and interestingly enough, I am seeing some black screens, which is not a good sign. So let me back out, see if I can clear that.
Are we actually able to? We figured out that we can actually send out personal DM invites now, and it doesn't affect the room. Yep, I spoke too soon. Now I got two gray spots. Can anybody hear me? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
All right, Rob, you got a mic?
Anybody looking for a request? I can't grant it at this time. The room it
I
looks
have
like
it.
it might be
I have it.
crashing.
I'm
We're
here.
waiting for stability issues to
Okay,
correct
you can't hear
themselves,
me.
so please stand by.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here. You couldn't hear me, Ice, so I got to drop you down. Michael.
I got both of you.
Well, I don't, so that's why he didn't have me because he couldn't hear me. So I gave him another invite to come back up. Anyways, Rob, good evening, sir. Mic check, Rob.
I can barely hear you. I don't know if that's just me.
I can barely hear you too. Maybe get closer to your mic or turn up your volume.
Okay, is that any better?
Not so much. But
All
we'll
right,
work on that.
Let me see what I can do. Keep going.
Well, we're waiting on 3-tier right now. So, Carmen, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Throwing out some more mics. Anybody that wants one? No quarter. Good to see you. Good evening. You can hear me all right, Carmen?
Yep, everybody great.
Okay, awesome.
All right, I think I figured out what's going on.
That sounds excellent, Rob.
Good.
Like, even, I mean, that's like radio quality. I mean, announcer quality right there.
Well, it helps if you're talking into the mic that you have set up and not the Bluetooth sitting over on your desk.
That's awesome. Science. I love it. Carmen, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing my. How are you?
Great. I'm expecting possibly 3-tier to show up. I don't know where he is. I'll check my. I got to check my messages real quick. Gonna throw Marlin. Don't know this guy. He looks kind of sketchy. He looks like a fish. I think he's safe though. We'll give him a shot. Let me check my messages and see what's going on.
All right, all right, Matt. Yeah, Marlon down there is looking. Hey, Marlon, how you doing, darling?
So I want to thank everybody for showing up. We did kind of put the invite out a little late, but in the week it wasn't quite pre-scheduled that far out in advance. But before we lay down the premise of the space and all of that, I just want to ask everybody, please. I think some things are going to be said that are really important, especially about defending self-defense. Some of the things we've talked about in the past on Tuesdays every week with 3-tier. And so please retweet the space. Right now we're just getting warmed up, so if you can bear with us, I really, really appreciate if you hang in there. And I did not know Marlon's had hands. Marlon, what's up?
I hear emoji discrimination going on. That's what I hear.
I haven't treated any other emojis any differently tonight. I've been very equal in my distribution of haranguing and poking and prodding. And yeah, I'll give no quarter tonight. Shane, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I do believe Walker's mother is going to be jumping in here soon, if not already. Oh, she is here. I think he may be listening elsewhere, so he can't speak. But we're going to have a good conversation about this young man, and I'm going to let Rob do a lot of the legal side of it. I'm just going to speak to the character of the individual, because it's not just a constituent; it's actually a personal friend, and this is not right. So.
Yes, Shane, and it's very serious, and I might have been saying some things that were inappropriate there for the seriousness of what we're going to be talking about. We're getting warmed up. Iceman, radio check, mic check. You good now?
Check 1 2 1 2. Lima Charlie on this end.
All right, awesome, bro. Um, I didn't see any messages from 3 tier. We were expecting them, right? Or did we want to just proceed and get to the premise of the evening and get going?
I believe he was joining us. He might be doing the same as usual, coming in like within 10 minutes before. That's how we usually do it as a warm up. You guys were doing it that way long before me being involved.
Yeah. Um, well, yeah, this is yeah, I do want people to file in, and we do have a room filling up. We can keep rolling. Um, I mean, we got enough people here now to where we could maybe begin to lay down the premise that we're facing and what's going on. So it's not that he is not familiar, so he'll probably fall right into step if we just get kind of started. We'll get started slowly. Marlon.
So quickly, maybe for the space, we can introduce Rob. Maybe Shane can introduce Rob, or let everybody know what Rob's role is. That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're ready to do that at this time. That'd be great. So, Rob, if you could just, or
Actually,
Shane.
I'm gonna introduce Rob. So just for
Okay.
those of you that don't know me, I am a state representative in Minnesota, and technically we are not allowed to get into pending court battles, if you will, whether it's civil or criminal, and we're not allowed to get into union negotiations. However, this is a close personal friend that I've known for many years. And I've run this through the eyes of many, many people. Some of the best, smartest people that know statutes, they know gun laws, they know all this stuff. And I just, so I'm not going to get in the legal side of it. I'm simply going to talk to Walker's character and what I know about him. And I'm going to let the legal side be held by Rob Doerr. Rob Doerr is, I believe, the vice president for Minnesota Gunners Caucus. If I'm wrong on that, he'll correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Rob Doerr spends a lot of time at our Capitol, following not only Second Amendment issues, but pretty much everything else, because he never leaves. And that's where he's been helping Walker on this, and helping me understand, like, what the hell's going on with this whole scenario. And just also for context, while we live in a very blue state, Walker and I actually live in a very, very conservative county, and this is actually happening here. So my concern is, number one, Walker's like a very young man. By the way, it was his 22nd birthday yesterday. So let's all wait till until I see him. Oh, he's here. So you can all say happy birthday to him, belated by one day. But nevertheless, the outstanding young guy. And that's my premise here, is to speak to his character, and I'll let Rob go now. Rob, you do your thing.
All right. I think I don't know. Sarah Forgas in the audience is actually Walker's mom, and I see that she's there. I don't know if she's prepared to talk. She can go into a little bit more of the details about kind of Walker's motivation with this. But the long and short of it is that Walker had built. From some P80 lowers. For those of you who don't know, that is basically an 80% lower. It's 80% of the way there to being a firearm, and the ATF for a long time has authorized these. The Biden administration has made some minor rules changing that, but Walker had acquired these prior to those rules going into effect. Walker is a mechanic. He's in school for that. His mom will tell you he's got a yard full of project cars that he's working on. He likes to build things. And one of the things that Walker liked to build once he turned 18 was a couple of firearms. He built a AR-15 pistol with a brace on it. And again, this is prior to the new pistol brace rules going into it. So it was fully legal and very much resembled the same type of pistol, that's not an SBR that I used to go deer hunting with my 300 Blackout. And then he had a full-length AR-15, 100% compliant with state and federal law, not NFA firearms. What he didn't do is he didn't inscribe them with a serial number. And normally, in our reading of the law, that shouldn't have been a problem. But he had was over at a friend's house in Sherburne County, was engaging in some target shooting, and one of the neighbors didn't like the firearms going off, and called the police with some rather questionable complaints. Police came out, and they inspected the backstop, inspected where the gentlemen were shooting, and didn't find any issue. If I could find one fault in what Walker did, is what happened next. The police officers, the sheriff's deputies rather, asked if they could see his firearms, and him, having after already contacted the ATF to confirm that his builds were completely legal, said, "Sure, here they are." The officers look at them and note that they don't have a serial number. So they scuttlebutt back and forth. One of them makes a phone call to the county prosecutor's office, and they decide to cite Walker for possessing an unserialized firearm. So here's where I need to go into Minnesota law a little bit. It gets a little bit nerdy, but I'll try to do the best I can. Minnesota law 609.667 makes it a crime to remove or alter serial numbers. So this was passed in '94 as part of the big tough on crime push, and mixed in with the assault weapons ban. So it makes it a crime to obliterate, remove, change, or alter a serial number, and then makes it a crime to sell or receive a firearm that isn't identified with a serial number. But here's where Walker got tripped up. Is the third portion is receives or possesses a firearm that is not identified by a serial number. But the statute goes on to clarify what a serial number means. And in the statute, it says serial number means the serial number and other identification required under United States Code Title 26, Section 5854. For those of you who don't have your federal code completely memorized, that's the National Firearms Act. So when you go over there, it talks about the requirements for a serial number, and every manufacturer and importer and anyone making a firearm shall identify each firearm other than a destructive device manufactured, imported, or made by a serial number, blah, blah, blah. But then the question is, what does 26 code, U.S. Code 5842 define as a firearm? And a firearm means a shotgun having a barrel of less than 18 inches, a weapon made of a shotgun that, blah, 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 basically all the NFA firearms, short-barreled shotgun, short-barreled rifle, any other weapon, machine guns, silencers. All of those things are what are required to be serialized by federal law. So what the prosecutor has unfortunately done is looked at this and says, hey, it's not identified by a serial number, therefore we get to charge him with this crime. But when you actually go through and follow, the statute says that it needs to be identified by the serial number required under United States Code Title 26. Basically, if the federal law does not require that firearm to be serialized, then there is absolutely no reason that it has to contain a serial number. So the long and short of it is it's a bad reading of a poorly drafted statute. And unfortunately, Walker, at first, he reached out to me. We helped connect him with one of the best Second Amendment attorneys in the state of Minnesota. We are aware at the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus of a couple of other instances where this has happened. One of those cases, the charges were dropped. The other, the judge granted a motion to dismiss based on these same grounds. But for some reason, this prosecutor has been really sticking hard with this. They offered Walker a plea deal with a gross misdemeanor charge instead of the felony that's required under statute. And that's nothing to shake a stick at, but it was he was going to plead guilty to the gross misdemeanor, which had significant impacts on his life and his future. But the prospects of facing a ravenous prosecutor with an expensive trial was very tough for their family to confront. So they made the tough decision to agree to the plea deal just because they didn't have the resources to take on the state when the state was pushing this hard with this bad reading of statute. After they agreed and after the paperwork was rolling, the prosecutor then looked at it and said, wait, you're pleading guilty to a misdemeanor. I want you to plead guilty to a felony. And they said, no, we're not going to make this 20-year-old kid, now he's 22, a felon for the rest of his life because he built a firearm. So the prosecutor backed out of the plea deal, and now the trial is set for September 6th or 9th, if I recall correctly, early September. Sorry about that. The long and short of it is we've done everything that we can at this point to try to get this case done. I've personally drafted a letter explaining all of these issues to the prosecutor. They're still persisting with this. So what we need to do now is for Walker, we need to basically get the resources to win this at trial. And that's going to involve, one, having enough money just to get the attorney through the trial and all the resources that takes. But we're going to have to hire some experts to come and explain explain to the jury exactly the laws that I just spelled out here. People who would qualify as court experts, former federal agents. Luckily, our friends at the Firearms Coalition have been helpful in that search, and I've been working with his attorney to try to secure some of those expert witnesses. But we're going to need the resources to pay their fees and their travel to get them out here in order to win this case. So that's where we're at right now. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Steve, you don't have to raise your hand. By the way, welcome to your room, boss. Nice to see you.
Hey, good to see everybody. Some formalities real quick. Thank you, Maga, Matt, Iceman, Carmen, for willing to host this, and co-host Shane. Thanks for helping me get this done. Rob, good to hear you. Thanks for participating in this. We've got Walker's mom in the room. Good to see you, ma'am. So if everyone could follow each other, retweet the space. I'm going to post some stuff down below related to the fundraiser because we want to promote that, and as well as promote this issue. Because as most of you know, in the spaces that I've done on defending self-defense, my position is always that anytime these issues come up related to firearms and or people who are being criminally charged for defending themselves, it's just not about their rights. It's about our rights, because it creates case law, and that case law can be used against people in the future. When Shane called me about this case, and then I had an opportunity to talk to Walker, it got me pretty fired up. And I don't know if this has been discussed or not, but the state itself, the state agency, actually auctioned off in the same county. They auctioned off 9 other serialized firearms. They weren't serialized, and nobody said anything about that, and nobody's prosecuting those folks. In my opinion, this is a political prosecution. It's not right. It's not just. It's not fair. You've got a young man who does a lot of good in his community, based on what I know. And, this is a bad deal. And, Rob was just talking about experts. So listen, even if you can just pitch in $5 or whatever, just check out that fundraiser. Let me give you an idea what experts charge. So I work on cases with attorneys related to self-defense as a use of force expert. And depending upon whether it's public defense or a private hired client, I charge anywhere from $150 an hour to $300 an hour to work on the case. And I charge anywhere from $150 an hour to be in court up to $1,600 a day. So when you start talking about needing experts and investigators, that's where these cases get super expensive. And most of you know, in the past, I've talked about, if you defend yourself and you take a life and you don't qualify for public defense, most qualified attorneys that can handle a murder case, you're going to need 500,000 to 300 to 500,000 up front just to get your attorney. And that probably won't even get you to trial, because you need mitigators, you need investigators, you need experts, so on and so forth. So that's why the money becomes so important. And you can't try these cases without those resources. It's really, really tough to do. So I just thank everybody for being here. Thanks for the support, and, pray for this family, pray for this kid. This is a big deal. And we have to find a way to stop this stuff from happening in our country, because it's easy to look at it like, well, it doesn't really affect me, but in the end, it affects us all. So I'm going to post some stuff down below that can be brought up. So I'll go silent for a minute and give somebody else an opportunity to speak. But Shane, Rob, thanks again. And Sarah, thanks for being here, and everyone else, appreciate it. Please retweet the room, follow each other, and let's support this family. Thank you.
So I'm just going to jump in just quickly, because I see Sarah's here, and I met Sarah last Saturday. I don't know if she wants to come up and speak. If you do, I mean, if one of you can send her a mic if you want to. She does. She just sent me a heart. She's totally in mama bear mode right now. She's trying to protect her son. And I totally get it, because I think the world of this little guy. I mean, he's not little; he's bigger than I am, but it doesn't really matter. Just if you have something to say, Sarah, I think it's a good opportunity. You're up there now, so Sarah, let her buck.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
This is my first ever Twitter space, so I don't actually know what the heck I'm doing here. So thank you for sending the invite to speak. I am so overwhelmed. Like, that doesn't even begin to describe how the last, my goodness, I think I went kind of public with this June 9th for the better part of the, last year. It was something that was kind of just kept between, our family and close friends, just because I wasn't sure. Well, for one thing, we thought it would just be dropped and everything would move on. But then I just know that it is a topic that does tend to bring out a lot of emotion and just public, like, conversation. But I went public with it June 9th, and here we are tonight. And Shane and Rob, like, I've expressed this to you, and my gratitude to you guys, and what you guys have done is, I literally don't even know what to say. So everyone here, thank you so much. Yeah, prior to this, I'm not a political person, and I'm not a gun person by any means. And I've had to get a pretty quick education in this topic, and I'm still, like, saying things that are probably not 100% accurate. A lot of times you'll hear me say, to the best of my knowledge or my understanding. So I don't know. I thank you, everyone, for being here and for sharing this and showing interest in this. And if it can happen to Walker, unfortunately, I'm starting to realize it can really happen to anyone. And we are fortunate. Walker is very good friends with Shane. But not everybody's, not everybody has a mom to fight for him. Like, I'm fighting for Walker. And, I don't want this to happen to anyone else. So.
Well, and I think if I can just jump in here real quick, Sarah, I think it's really important for people that are in here listening to this, that they understand the amount of stress and the amount of anguish this puts a family through, especially when, there's a plea deal. Oh, wait, no, there's not. And I might be misstating this, but, when I talked to Walker, he even said that the DA has said words that, if I'm not really sure what the deal was, but something about if they can't get him on these charges, they want to charge him for having an SBR, short-barreled rifle, because one of the firearms was a pistol chambered in a 5.56 or a rifle round back before the ATF pistol brace ban came out, and that was over a year ago. So, the reason I got fired up on this when Shane called me is I see these legal games that really appear to be political that play with people's lives, and it gets drug out, and so often the stress of it is understated. It's not talked about, and I can imagine that your family not only has been under a financial strain, but just the stress of trying to manage this and deal with it when it's like a game to them. Does that make sense? Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. It has been, well, yes, it has been a very stressful year. And like, and I know that people have been well intentioned, but when we talk to people about this, that are familiar with these firearms, and just even Walker's, the fact that he doesn't have any criminal record. Oh, it'll get dropped. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And it feels like every step, if something bad can happen, it has happened. He was initially assigned to a judge who resigned abruptly. My understanding was she was going to resign soon, and then something came up. Don't know the details. That she resigned sooner. So then he got passed to an additional judge that actually came out of retirement during COVID to help with the backlog of cases, is my understanding. And everything was done via Zoom. We didn't get to do the in-person hearing that we had lined up to provide evidence, as was mentioned. The Minnesota DNR, so the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, often auctions a couple times a year seized items, and some of those are firearms. And we, we're prepared to show that this happened. So many things that we wanted to have happen in person, everything got pushed to a Zoom meeting, which I'm sorry, but it's not the same. And that judge did not dismiss the charges. Rob might have a better understanding why. I know I read through it, but it was so much legal jargon that I don't quite understand why he felt that there was probable cause and that this did not violate Walker's constitutional rights. So then we're on to our third judge that we don't know anything about. She's brand new. So it's just, if something bad can happen, it has happened. One other really, interesting thing to our family is my husband Walker's stepfather is Canadian, and I have a home across the border in Ontario, and I have stepkids that are in Ontario, and Walker has step siblings and aunts and uncles and grandparents that he already hasn't seen them since 2019 due to COVID. And then to have this happen, he can't even approach the border with pending charges. So now I have the prospect of what is my family going to look like long term with, a conviction, or even the plea was going to cause major hurdles. But a gross misdemeanor is something we could have overcome. So the stress of it, I probably sound pretty calm, but I've had a year to process it. And if he had done something wrong, I hope people understand that I'm not just blindly supporting my child. If he had done something wrong intentionally, or just, inadvertently broke the law, I would obviously be pushing that he be, treated fairly, but I would be making sure he took responsibility. When it really does not appear that he broke a law, and this is happening. It is so hard to wrap your head around that this has happened. We've had to take out student loans, which is, that's okay, that's normal. People get to do that. But the initial money that I spent on his attorney, we had ready to go for his second year of school. So, him trying to get through college, him trying to work, me trying to juggle, family, and it's a lot. It's, and that, like you said, that's the stuff that people don't actually talk about, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I appreciate you speaking about that because, in my work over the years, it's easy when people are talking very clinically about these types of situations or even a self-defense charge situation, the human component to it and the stress that these proceedings bring. I mean, the fact that you've already had 3 judges, I know from my work that most people, that would be enough just to send them over the edge because there's so much uncertainty. And, unfortunately, statutes are typically written very vague. I'm not a lawyer, but I work with lawyers on specific statutes related to self-defense, and they're very vague, and a lot of them are open-ended. And this is how people get jammed up. And then what can happen, which is what has happened to your son, is somebody dig their heels in, and now it becomes their personal or political vendetta. And that's the stuff that has to stop. And the only way I believe that we can stop it is if, when people in our community hear about this stuff, we stand up for other people. Because you know what? This stuff can happen to anybody, like you said earlier. And if we're not passionate about our right of Second Amendment, which is related to guns, but it's more strongly related to the right of self-defense. If we don't stand up for our community on these issues, people will get railroaded. It happens all the time. So I just thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to speak. Rob, can you talk a little bit more about what's the issue around the guns that were auctioned, and how are they justifying prosecuting Walker but not doing anything about those guns that were auctioned off? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that if you take their application of this statute and apply it universally, as you have to do with the law, you can't pick and choose when the law applies and when it doesn't, unless the statute gives you that ability to. The Minnesota DNR, when people are poaching or they're hunting and they have illegal firearms, or they're not legally allowed to possess firearms and they're out there hunting, all of those situations, the DNR gets to seize those weapons and they get to sell them. We've identified over the last several years that the DNR, at least through the records we see online, and I'm sure it's been going on longer than we've been able to find on the Wayback Machine, has been routinely selling firearms that don't have serial numbers. Now, that's not a problem because prior to 1968, firearms did not need to have a serial number. Prior to the Gun Control Act in 1968, there was no requirement for serial numbers. So if you have an old shotgun rifle, if some of you inherited a hunting gun from your grandpa or your great grandpa, there's a good chance that it doesn't have a serial number. And if you come into Minnesota, at least in Sherburne County, they're going to prosecute that. So it's paradoxical because if you apply the same reading and reasoning of the statute that the county attorney is applying, then that means that the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources has been engaged in felony transfers of firearms. What makes this particularly delicious, as Sarah pointed out, is that the auction house is in the city of Zimmerman, which is in Sherburne County. So at least last year, the one that auctioned off, I found 8, but some people have said 9 unserialized firearms is in the same county that is prosecuting Walker for these. So there's that issue. But then we get into the absurd results issue, which is basically if you, again, following their reasoning and their arguments in this case, if you follow them to their logical conclusion, all Walker would have needed to do is take a Sharpie and write number 1 on both of these firearms, and he would have been perfectly fine, because now they have a serial number, even though that offers absolutely no public safety or governmental interest benefit. It would have complied with their interpretations of the statute. And I think Sarah has a more preferred serial number that she suggested to Walker, if she wants to give that one. I don't want to get it wrong.
I love my mom 1234.
I think he'll need to put that on all of his serial numbers moving forward. You've been such a force on on his behalf.
Yes, I agree. Walker, if you're listening, I mean that, if that's what they will be eventually.
Man, that's awesome, Sarah. That's awesome. Look, this is how crazy it is, right? If he could have written anything, hey, stop, anything with a Sharpie like that, and he would have been fine. That just tells you right there what a clown world this has become, and how desperate people are to fulfill their agenda. That's just crazy.
Well, in law, there's something called the doctrine of absurd results, where you can't read a statute that would be interpreted in a way that would make the compliance with it yield absurd results. That's one of the appeals that I made to the county attorney when I sent the letter in, is that look, if you apply your reasoning for continuing to push this case, if you apply your reasoning, then that means that the absurdity of having somebody make 100 personal use firearms, all with the number 1 that complies with the statute, it's just an absurd result. Along those lines is while I hope that we're able to beat this for Walker at trial, it is important that we look that we may need to appeal this. This judge is an unknown. They are a recent appointee of our Democrat governor, but the previous 2 judges that handled this case were appointed by Republicans. So that's not necessarily a guarantee. But it is what it is, and I'm looking at the Give, Send, Go, and we've got at least two donations from the listeners since this live started. So I appreciate that, but we may be looking at needing to go forward and on appeal. And on appeal is where you actually get to argue the law. You don't at trial, you argue the facts. The judge gets to decide the law and what the law is. If in here's what the potential issue is, and why we need to look at investing this money to get the experts out there, is if the judge decides that the law is possession of an unserialized firearms is a violation of this statute, then Walker's done, because absent jury nullification, which isn't an argument that an attorney can make, that the judge has determined that any possession of an unserialized firearm is a crime, then that's done. But we get to argue that fact on appeal. So as you're considering your donations, don't just look at what Walker may need to get through this trial. Look at what we may need to get all the way through an appeal.
Right. And, that's interesting you bring that up, and thanks for bringing that up. It's, the appellate process is more complicated. You have to have an appellate lawyer. You're talking about a whole different platform of cost and investment. And you're talking about a much more greater length of time. It's not like that happens real quick, which just gives more stress to the family, and it's a tough deal. So I believe the ideal outcome would be it's just a non-guilty verdict and he gets to move on with his life. I've worked on post-conviction relief cases, appeals. It's tough. I mean, I've seen cases go 5 years. It's not fun. And the family, look, people, everyone listening, what I want you to all to understand is that it's easy for us to listen to this and not really understand the value, or what's the word I'm looking for? The propensity of what this does to people's lives daily. And it's a daily thing. When I did a space with Kyle Rittenhouse after he got found not guilty, and people have heard me tell this story, but I'm going to say it again real quick. people kept coming up saying, man, I just can't believe what the prosecution was putting through, what they were doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally said, listen, folks, this happens every day in America to people. You just don't know about it because it's not a high profile case. So if you're walking around with a gun and you're going to defend yourself, this is what you should expect. I see this year in and year out on the cases I work with attorneys, the shenanigans that prosecutors will pull because we pay them to prosecute criminals. They will do anything to win, and it gets ugly, and it is kind of like a game. It's a legal game. And that's why it's so important for us to stand up for others that are going through this crap and try to do something about it. Because someday you may need somebody to stand up for you to help you do something about it.
Well put, Steve. We do have some hands, folks, so if we don't mind, I'd like to go to them, see what they can either question or add. Marlon, you're first in Pat.
Well, thanks. Hey, this is for Rob, Shane, and Sarah. First off, Sarah, I hope you're having somewhat of a good experience on Twitter. This is definitely one way we can get the word out. What happens from here, the better part is this: your fundraising ability doesn't stop here. It's going to go outside of Twitter. It's going to go on Google and get it out there. So make sure that you explain the link and where the link is at, because I'm sure after people hear the recordings and go through it, we're capturing a very good online presence. So two things. The judge, I'm sorry, let's go back to the jury. The problem, I feel as though that, hey, you may have the most solid case in the world, but one particular juror doesn't like his hair that day, doesn't like his attitude or the way he walked. This is a problem that I don't know. I've had my own experiences with that. And then I don't understand why the first judge or the second judge didn't run this case and bring the evidence forward. Did they give you good excuses, or what were they just appeals, or what was the process?
So I think what Marlon is asking is why has there been so many judges? And if case law was already brought because other cases have already been dismissed or whatever, what's going on with these judges, and how are we on a third judge? I believe that's what Marlon is asking.
Yep. Thank you, Steve.
I can. It's my understanding, like I said, with the first judge, and Rob, I think that you can probably chime in here too, potentially, but his first hearing was just answer to the charges, get assigned a judge, make sure there wasn't bail, although they did actually want to initially, after he had not formally been arrested and had been out for 3 months at his first hearing, I think it was July or August, wanted to do $15,000 bail, and the judge was like, no, we're not doing that. So that was interesting, but that first one was just the formalities of things that I think generally happen a little bit sooner. This was about 3 months later. And then she resigned, and so then we had to just get it picked up by another judge. And that second hearing was called a contested omnibus hearing, where essentially the defense can ask for it to essentially to be dismissed based on lack of probable cause, and then called in to question the constitutionality of the issue at hand. And that was supposed to initially be an in-person hearing. And when we got the second judge, this judge preferred to do everything via Zoom. And so we did several quick Zoom meetings, and then evidence was submitted by the defense and the prosecution to the judge essentially via email, and he reviewed everything. And then he determined, and again, this is where, to be honest, this is kind of where I was like, I can't do this. You've got to be kidding me. And I would have to go back and read in detail what the judge's reason was. But essentially, the judge just decided that there was probable cause, that the statute, I guess, did make sense, and that it wasn't a violation of any constitutional rights, leading us to, as Rob had said, we had the option of taking a plea, which again, gross misdemeanor is not anything to, just accept, easily, but it was better than the felony or trial. And we looked at all the reasons, and, to mostly just move on, we were going to go with the plea. But when it was determined that the plea required him pleading guilty to a felony, then that just, we couldn't accept that, and we couldn't have an agreement. And so the plea was essentially, was not accepted. There was no plea to be accepted. So that's kind of how we, you can blame it on retirement and COVID, I guess, how we got to this third judge. My understanding is the judge that he has now will be his trial judge, but she was appointed to the bench in February by our current governor. So I don't know a lot about her.
Yeah, that's pretty much pretty astute. She's become a fast study in Minnesota court proceedings. But the judge that so after the initial judge resigned abruptly, senior judges are retired, but they still come back to handle caseloads. Their caseloads vary, but in the light of COVID, some of the senior judges were taking on caseloads, and they handle a lot of the pre-trial issues, and then some usually those are handed off to a permanent active judge that's not in senior status, and that's what happened in this case. Is that there was a senior judge that was handling the pretrial issues until the appointment of a new judge by our governor, and then that case was then reassigned to that new active judge for the district.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, real quick, during COVID, we saw a crisis in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, with criminal defense attorneys, judges. It was and it still is a mess. Actually, it's not good. And the things that happened after COVID greatly affected people's ability to get into a typical cycle, a judicial cycle. And, it really wreaked havoc, like to the point that it became national news. And it's still being discussed because I'm on these email listservs with these attorneys in all these states, and they're still talking about how they're still having trouble getting enough attorneys and enough active judges. So, I don't, my professional take on that is that's kind of what's been going on the last couple of years. Like, I wouldn't say professionally that that's a specific thing against Walker. This has happened to many people, and finally they get a presiding judge that's going to see this thing through trial. All we can do right now is hope and pray that this new judge has, a good perspective on the law and what we're talking about here. And he just gets vindicated of this BS. And, but yeah, it's been a mess. It's been a mess. It still is a mess in many states, and it's not a good deal. Matter of fact, I've seen people that normally would have gone to trial within a year or so if they waived the right to a speedy trial. They're still 2 and 3 years out. And that's just what's kind of been going on. So I just wanted to chime in there before and let Iceman go to hands or whatever.
Thank you, Steve. Next up is Prodigal Son, a friend of mine that we haven't seen in a while, and now he's making an appearance again. Good evening, sir. We were talking about this space. You might need a recap because you got in late, but what are you bringing in today, brother?
Well, this is for Rob. Funny you should mention Sherburne County, biggest liberal county I think in Minnesota. Um, 2019, I pulled over on the shoulder of the road. And I drive a semi truck, by the way, and just on the shoulder, take a leak real quick, get back to the driver's seat. Well, before I knew it, there was two uh, state troopers behind me. Well, I better not go. So, anyways, uh, she come up to the window and okay, I'll be honest. I had a joint that I had burnt, and it still smelt in here. Uh, I had a loaded firearm. Now it was not concealed because I couldn't get to it. It was underneath my bunk. Yes, it was loaded, one in the chamber. And she said, "Oh, you got one loaded in the pipe." I said, "Well, I'm fixing to embarrass you, but your terminology is incorrect because my gun don't have a pipe. It has a chamber." I wound up getting on false logbooks. I got the possession charge and the false logbook thrown out before I went, and they still tried to get me with concealed concealed weapon. And when I went to court, the judge said, "Well, where was it?" And I said, "Underneath my bunk." And, "Well, was it loaded?" I said, "Yeah, but does that really matter?" I said, if I'm going to have a firearm, if there's not one in the chamber, I'm dead. So what's the use of carrying it? I might as well carry a stick." Mysteriously, I got my gun back, and the charges are not on my record. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, if the prosecutor decided not to push forward with the charges, they wouldn't be on your record. So, especially if it happened within the window of time for them to hold you, either 48 or 72 hours, depending on the circumstances. Yeah,
Never went to jail, but I did have to go up there and go to court.
and were you ever arraigned or charged on any of those things?
Um, I had to do. This is how stupid it is. I had to do a drug course. I wound up doing it online, and they accepted it off of probation in under a month. Of course, I had a year probation where I was supposed to go up there and do group, and I'm like, if I have to come up here and do this, I'm going to have to charge y'all because I live 682 miles away. Y'all are going to have to pay for my gas. This is not acceptable. And well, just put a long story short, I just wound up doing that little course online, and everything went away.
Yeah, it sounded like you probably had like something like a continuance for dismissal where they held the charges pending the completion of whatever their remediation program was, and then once you completed that, it's like it never happened.
So I got out pretty lucky on that one.
You got out lucky. Well, which kind of reminds me of some of the jokes that I've been making. That it almost would have been better for Walker to have carjacked somebody in Minneapolis, and then he would have gotten off with a misdemeanor plea deal. Or as Sarah just told me, sent me an article. The one of the people involved with the shooting at the Mall of America got 120 days in the workhouse. That's it. Yeah, where now where Walker is sitting here facing actual jail time for just building a firearm, something that's been done since the founding of our country.
Yeah, just so you know, I posted some stuff down below to be posted above. I posted Walker's case number that Sarah provided me, a link to where you can read the documents, and the case where this shooter got a very, very, very light slap on the wrist. So that's there. If someone can post it up, and if people want to look at it, it's there. I did have a question for you. Were you ever booked or fingerprinted or anything?
No, I was never fingerprinted at all.
He got lucky.
Lucky man. Hope you played the lottery after that one. That was compound upon compound upon compound from a legal standpoint. Helena, would you like to add to this, ma'am?
Well, good evening, everyone. And Matt and Iceman and Carmen, thank you very much for hosting this incredibly important space. And I'm actually glad that I popped in. It was out of curiosity of the title that I was very interested to hear what this conversation was about. And I did want to ask about the charges and what the sentencing guidelines are. But before I do that, Sarah, I want to tell you that you are very brave and courageous and wonderful mother to be fighting for your son. And that's exactly what we need. We need more people standing up and fighting these incredible injustices that are happening in our country. I'm a January 6th political prisoner advocate, and I don't want to change the trajectory of this conversation at all. But these prosecuting attorneys have become activists from the bench, and they're targeting many Americans, and we truly have to get involved and become part of this conversation, because all of our rights are being taken away right before our eyes, and we're losing our country. And we've got to get behind families like this, because they are looking at being financially decimated. Because I think it was you, Three Tier, that said that this could drag on for a really long time. And we're seeing that play out with the January 6th political hostages, because that's exactly what they are. But my question is, what is this young man facing as far as his charges? And what is he looking at as far as time if he is found guilty of these alleged charges? And I don't know
So
who can answer that question.
yeah. So each charge for violation of the statute is a penalty of up to 5 years in prison or a $10,000 fine, if I am correct. Let me double check that, but I think it's 5 years. Typically, those are served. Imprisonment of not more than 5 years, or payment of fine of not more than $10,000. All right, my memory's good. So typically those are sentences that are served concurrently. That's a maximum. Under our sentencing guidelines grids, he would probably be looking at something along the lines with a criminal history score of 0, which is what he has, 21 months for each charge, but typically those would be served concurrently. So it could be anywhere from basically a year and a half to 3 years in prison that he's looking at.
So
That's
I want to pipe in here real quick on that. Look, folks, I've done training in maximum security facilities, minimum security. And listen, most people that are in this room, well, probably everyone, look, if you have to go to prison, that is going to change you for the rest of your life just to try to survive. Many people cannot survive that and come out on the other side the same person. That is like the worst possible outcome for this young man. And you know what, when Shane brought this to me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do something on this. I'll commit a Tuesday night where we normally talk about defending self-defense. Let's do this. Let's organize this. I was so pissed off about this because I've been inside those facilities, and I see what happens in there, and I've talked to these people, and look, he cannot go to prison. That just cannot happen. This young man that I've talked to, and I've talked to other people that have spoken about what a great young man he is, what he would have to do psychologically and emotionally to survive prison will change his entire trajectory. Now, maybe there's a possibility he gets a mentor and he comes out and yeah, everything's fine. But I'm just telling you all, that cannot be an option. So I'm just throwing that out there. It doesn't matter if it's 12 months. It doesn't matter if it's 24 months. You go to prison, and what you have to become to survive in prison is something you never were or wanted to become. And I'll holster it there.
Hey, Ice, can I jump in really quick?
Go right ahead, Carm. Your co-host. You're entitled.
Thanks, guys. I just want to say really quick, wow. Sarah and Walker prayers and like, God bless y'all and God bless our mothers. I'm telling you, man, our mothers and they don't realize we're warriors and that's our children, and we can outstand the storm, a harsh storm, fighting for our children. And God bless Walker, 22 years old. My son just turned 24, and I'm sitting here comparing it. But I'll say this: what I'm really comparing is the fact that I am a survivor from a assault by a complete stranger in daylight, and his fine after everything was said and done was $5,000. So he was charged with the kidnapping, strangulation with the intent, and sexual assault. And I'm trying to think of one other charge, but the thing is like we're sitting here talking about a young kid that had these guns and was legally had these guns on him, and then we're talking to someone that stood in court and had to face a monster that changed my life forever, and he was required to pay $5,000, and Walker's fines could be up to 5 years to $10,000 or $10,000 in prison, in fines. I'm blown away. I just wanted to show some love to Sarah. I want to show some love to Walker, Shane, Rob, and everyone that's helping, 3-tier, everyone that's helping him at this moment. And I'll do whatever I can, whether it's donations, whether it's standing up and sharing my story to say, how come this happened here and this isn't happening here? I don't know what I can do, but I know I'll pray about it. And I know what I can also do is be here and keep spreading the information and keep putting your link up out here on Twitter and on these platforms and get y'all some help as much as I can. So God bless you, and I'll go from there. Thanks, Ice.
Carmine, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you up here. I'm gonna Texas and Mike, if you can hold a minute. I know Shane's the one that brought it to us, so I'd like to yield right back to him for his comments and thoughts on what he's heard so far.
Yeah, I've heard a lot. It's I actually what I actually have a question for Rob, because I don't even honestly know if this is going to be a jury trial or a judge trial. The next one coming. I don't know if Sarah can answer that, because and also I want you all to know that Walker is listening to this. He's been advised by his legal team not to talk, which I totally understand. So I'm respecting that. But also understand, it was his 22nd birthday yesterday. So if you could all give him a thumbs up or something. I mean, I can't imagine being 22 years old looking at all this nonsense. And he was, well, holy crap. He was at my house Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday. There is no way myself, as well as my lateral partner in the Senate, would be standing next to a person if we thought they did something wrong. Trust me, if as an elected person, if you believe, we get emails all the time, I got screwed by the police, whatever. Well, as you dig into it, and then if they did one little thing wrong, okay, fine, you got to distance yourself. I have pictures. I cannot share them at this time based on his lawyer's advice, where both myself and the state senator are standing shoulder to shoulder with Walker. There is no way we would do this if we believed he did anything wrong. And there is no way I would have him come to my own home, my own property, if I believed he was any kind of a bad person. He's not a bad person. He's a really good young man. He is the first one to show up to help, no matter what it is. He's got a skill set, which is auto mechanics, and he is there immediately. He actually reminds me of stuff like, hey, when are we going to fix this? He's a good young man. So I want that pointed out. That's my point that I'm bringing to this. That, and I've run this, like I said earlier, before all these people got on this call, I have run this whole case past many, many eyeballs, and he did nothing wrong. I'm guessing, based on what I've been told recently, and even by Rob the other day, do I have shotguns or something that's really, really old? Probably not serialized. Probably. I don't know. So can't sell them or transfer them. Well, no, but can't sell them or transfer them. I maybe I was given them years ago when I was a kid. I don't know. The point is that if the state can auction them off, and he never had any intent to auction them off, he was just had them in his possession, and he made them for himself, and that clearly is the whole thing right there. And I actually cautioned him before we did this. I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. I wish I could get Walker to talk. And I know, Walker, you can't. I know you can't. But I cautioned him, going, you do realize that if you go all in on bringing it forward publicly, this could get much bigger. There is nothing preventing Attorney General Keith Ellison from taking this case over, which maybe he will. I don't know. I wouldn't be one bit surprised, because it would feed to his base. And then it's going to get even more complicated. And Walker said, well, what do I have left to lose? That's paraphrasing, but it was the gist of the conversation. We were sitting in front of one another. And I can't even imagine sitting in his shoes. We were sitting here one night, and think about what back when you were 21, all of you. I mean, none of you had 2 nickels to rub together. I mean, barely. And here's this young guy, and he's facing all this. And he's telling me, like, he wakes up in the middle of the night because he can't sleep. And he doesn't know what his future is going to look like. And I brought this to I reached out to Rob damn near a year ago, I'm guessing, and a handful of others. And I'm trying to put myself back in my shoes 30 years ago, or better than 30 years ago, when I was that age. What the hell would I have done? And all I can think of is, thank God I know people that are smart like Rob and other people. I'm not going to mention names. There's other people on this call right now, or this space, to have them analyze this, going, did help me understand this. And I can't comprehend what this poor guy is going through. And yet then he calls me the next day and says, hey, when are we going to fix the tractor? Like, really? With all you got going on? You're worried about fixing that damn thing right now? Seriously? So my point of this is to emphasize what an amazing, and I've known this kid forever. And actually he's got a younger brother. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to do that to his brother, which is the same age as my daughter, and they're in the same grade together in the same school. So I'm trying to emphasize, I know this family. They are not just constituents. They are friends. And I'm not gonna just leave it out there and say, well, we're not allowed to get in criminal or civil pending litigation or any of that crap or union negotiations, whatever. I don't give 2 shits. These are friends. And what's happening right now, based on everything I know from the experts that I know that I've leaned out to and said, help me understand all this, Rob being one of them, tell me what I'm missing here because I don't see what was done wrong. And so far, nobody's been able to prove me wrong. So there you go. And by the way, if everybody can just say happy birthday to Walker, because I know he's listening, and like, it's a day late, but whatever. Doesn't matter. He's 22 now. A whopping 22. So there you go.
Happy birthday, Walker.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Walker.
birthday.
Yeah.
Many more.
Real
Shane.
quick, just to answer Shane's questions that he had, Walker is entitled to a jury trial. He can request a bench trial. I would be amazed if we would leave it into the hands of an unknown judge. So there is a pretrial hearing set in about a month now. Fingers crossed, the new judge will look at this and maybe look at the motion to dismiss de novo and decide to not go forward. Fingers crossed, but. From there, I would imagine that we'll be looking at jury selection starting in early September. So that's what that is. And then I did also want to say that I am shocked that it got this far, because we get at the Gun Owners Caucus, Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, we get messages all the time where, I was arrested and this and this and that. And then, I talked to Shane and I talked to Walker. I was like, don't worry. This is the prosecutor just took a bad reading of statute. The judge is going to read this and dismiss it right away because that's what's happened, 2 other times before. Don't worry. I'm legitimately shocked that we've gotten this far in the case, that the judge decided to dance around. They decided they were going to take a plain reading of statute, but then instead of using the federal definition of firearms that applied under the act, they used the Minnesota definition of firearms from a completely unrelated statute. So the judge took a bad reading, which happens from time to time. But that's why we're probably going to. I would feel more comfortable making the case to a jury, but that's an expensive endeavor. We've got to hire experts to convince the jury, so that's where all of us come in. Thanks, Shane.
Hey, Shane, real quick, before I talk to you directly. Hey, Walker, I'm glad you're in here, and I hope you see that people are behind you, supporting you. You're a young man. Do not give up. You got to hang in there. Fight the fight. Do not let this system break you, young man. Do not. You hang in there. And Shane, if you would, we talked, Sunday we talked again. Would you please tell the story real quick, just to give everybody an idea about who this young man is, about how he dropped everything and came over and helped you? Can you just share that story? Because that story needs to be told right now, if you can do it.
Well, okay, so Walker is going, as Sarah said, he's going to school, so he's a mechanic. So he likes playing with wrenches. I'm a trade guy, normally, not outside of politics, but I'm a trade guy. I don't like playing with mechanic stuff anymore. And the only reason I did it when I was younger is because I couldn't afford to not do it. So, I don't know, a few weeks back, whatever, something broke down, and Walker was here like lickety split. And then it just kind of kept happening, more and more things, other trucks, whatever. But he came over on Saturday night, I believe. And no, Friday night, last Friday night. One of the work trucks, I don't know, caught the wiring harness, the fan did it, and it took out the radiator. He's sitting here with this damn thing. He's got half the front of the truck pulled off, and he's taking it all apart. But he was here, and he was here till probably 11 o'clock at night. And we had to get up to go to the parade the next day, which his mom walked in, by the way, too. But not a blink of an eye. And then he just, I don't know. He's always there to help. And I know Walker's listening to all this, And dude, I love you like a brother. Well, really young brother, I guess. But you're a damn good guy. You're a good young man, and I will not stop fighting for you. So it is what it is. But he's always there when you need him, and the conversation afterwards is even better. And I think part of this is part of that where he stands on certain sides of politics, probably. I don't know, but just my 2 cents. So he's done so many things, and then last Saturday, the day after, my truck like went into limp mode. So he was over here on Sunday. He put his little scanner on it. He's like, "Well, here's what it is. All right, I'll get the parts." I left him alone yesterday because it was his birthday, and I understood that. So I don't know when he's coming back to figure that mess out because he's got to deal with that too, and that's fine. So he's always there. He's not a troublemaker. He's a good guy. So all I can ask everybody is, if you got $5, $10, $20, whatever it is, this thing is going to be pretty expensive. And at the rate from what I've seen and heard, despite the fact we're in a conservative county, they're kind of going all in on this. And now that it's kind of getting attention, nothing says that Ellison won't take it over, the Attorney General from Minnesota. So just be prepared for it. And, what they've already put him through is like a lot of sleepless nights. I can't even imagine, especially at that age, when you don't have hardly 2 nickels to rub together. I know he spent so much money. When they had that plea deal, I was like, I didn't like the idea of it because he did nothing wrong, but I also understand you don't have the money to fight it. And we had a conversation about it. And then I think his mom said too, they kind of withdrew it, which they didn't like that word apparently. Well, they didn't withdraw, they just didn't accept it, and they just pressed out with a felony. So it's wordsmithing and semantics at that point. But at the same time, you got to plan on the worst, and there's going to be more of these, and they're going to. The one thing I know about Walker, he could be. I want to get down here and see if I can find Walker on here. All right, Walker, give me like a thumbs up if you can hear me. Because he could be the next Riley Gaines of women's swimming for the Second Amendment. Because if this goes sideways, I think he's willing to go all in. But I caution him, like, this could be really complicated. And you're so young. But he's all in. So I don't know. He's got spirit. He's got passion, and he's on the right side of things, and he's not a criminal by any means. So there you go.
So Shane, real quick, when I talked to Walker after I talked to you, and he got me all fired up about this, and like, we got to do this. Let's get this done. And I reached out to Matt and Iceman, and they were like, yeah, let's do this. So again, thanks guys for supporting this. And then I got in touch with Sarah, and I'm like, this kid is already being tested by fire like a man. But I mean, I got kids that are 27 and 30, and it's amazing that when I was talking to him, I was just really impressed with how calm, cool, collected he was, and how he was standing on principle, which is tough. It's tough when you're jammed up. And here's the thing, folks. Prosecutors have all the resources in the world. They have all the money. And the defense is the one that has to pony up. A lot of people don't realize this, but in many states, if you want discovery, you have to pay for it. Like, the defense attorney has to pay money to get the discovery from the prosecutors, right? When you would think, most people would think, oh, well, you have a right to that under the judicial system. Oh, no. I've seen discovery cost $20,000 in cases. It's crazy. So when I do trainings, I tell people all the time, he who has the gold makes the rules. That's kind of the way it is. While we do have the best system in the world, money is a big factor. And, it's important to understand that, and also understand that, wait a second, it's just not about that. It's about the people. It's about the family. It's about the stress, right? So thanks for sharing that, Shane. I'm going to holster it so the co-host and host can get some hands, and we'll keep this up. Hang in there, Walker. Good to see you here, buddy.
Thanks, Shane. We'll keep this going as long as you'd like and whatever anybody else feels here. On that, Texas. Yes, sir. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening, y'all. Matt, Iceman, Carmen, Mr. Nate, you was a hit in Texas at the truck show. 3-tier, how you doing, sir? Mr. Shane, Michael, Marlon, all the rest of y'all. I see Helena left. I ain't talked to her in a while. Man, I just seen something crazy on the road. I mean, it's kind of off color here, but I'm in Louisiana, and they had billboards posted on the side of the road, narcotics checkpoint, dogs in use, flashing red and blue light. I've never seen that in all my time out here. Crazy. Anyways, that wasn't what I want to tell Mr. Walker happy birthday, brother, and keep your head up. And times are hard out here on the road trucking right now. So I wanted to tell Sarah I don't trust Gifts and Go or GoFundMe. It's just me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, unabashed. But I did send you a follow. If you'll send me a way to send you a little cash, I will, to help out. Cash App, Venmo, whatever you need to do. I'm not a troll. You can ask anybody here. They can vouch for me. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. And, of course, they want to charge the young man with a felony because, hey, that's the easiest form of gun control there is. Make crimes where everybody's guilty of something and take their gun rights. It's something we need to look at as a country and as people and realize that that's what they're doing. They're using these stupid-ass charges and laws to take our rights away to protection or hunting or other things. But I'm going to park it there, man. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Tex. Nice of you to come on. Did you bring your friend with you that you wanted to introduce?
I think they're in here. They're here. WM.
Oh, I know Mike's here. Yeah, you want to introduce him? Ask him to take a mic, bro.
I think Jake is down. Jake is down in the crowd
I'll
somewhere.
drop down so you can bring them up. I just wanted to introduce them. Like I said, Mr. Kane, you was a hit. I hope you get some donations out of it, but we definitely put you out there. We run out of flyers for everybody, and everybody took notice of what you're doing, supporting the truckers and our cause. I look forward to working with you in the future, brother. And I'm gonna start putting your flyer up in every truck stop, just like I am ours. That's what we're doing, man. We're supporting people that want to support us and fight for the right causes. So I'll drop down so Mike can come up. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Texas. Nate.
Hey guys, great show tonight. This issue of the Second Amendment, I think, is critically important, especially as we see the expansion of government powers and we see this, these ridiculous laws, being passed not by our legislators, but by the ATF, deciding that, because, just because out of, I don't know where the hell they even come up with this stuff. But you had Biden the other day saying that a pistol brace, can change the caliber of your bullet as it's going out of your gun. I mean, that's how ridiculously stupid these idiots are. I mean, I'm so pissed off every time I hear these people talk, and to know that there are good citizens whose rights are being infringed upon because of some illegal, unconstitutional, National Firearms Act, and that was enacted back in 1934. I just don't understand why we are where we are. Clearly, none of the people who passed these laws understood the Constitution or understood anything about the history of its creation or anything, and maybe I'm sure none of them had ever read the Federalist Papers or any of the founding documents. When you look at what was written. There's three quotes that I want to just read for everybody, because I know a lot of people aren't aware of, people see that word militia, in that Second Amendment, and they think, oh well, that they'll try to make some excuse that the founders' intent was that guns should only be for the creation of a militia, that is trained and all of that. But I want to read something to you. So the first one here was by Noah Webster, and I mean everybody should know who Noah Webster was. He wrote something called an examination of the leading principles of the federal Constitution in October 10th, 1787. He said, "Before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every country in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword, because the whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops." So this was Noah Webster, who was basically acknowledging that the point and purpose of the people being armed is so that a standing army could not conduct a coup on our soil. That is why, that is the whole point and purpose of the Second Amendment. It's that the people should have that force to basically put a check against the military and a standing army, which we have, of course. Then you had Patrick Henry in a speech to Virginia ratifying the convention in June 5th, 1778. He said, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. Whenever you give up that force, you are ruined. The great object is that every man be armed. Everyone who is able might have a gun." That was Patrick Henry, one of our founders. And the last quote that I want to quote, because I think this is also extremely important for people to understand, this was by Samuel Adams in the Massachusetts ratifying convention. He said, "The Constitution shall never be construed to prevent the people of the United States, who are peaceable citizens, from keeping their own arms." Now, I don't know anywhere in the Constitution where it says that a gun must have a serial number, but I do know where in the Constitution where it says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So that's my opinion about it, and I can tell you one of the things that I intend to push for is for the revocation of stupid laws like this, because these laws do not protect anyone, because the people who ultimately are punished by these laws are good citizens. It's not criminals who get punished by these laws. These laws don't stop criminals from going out and committing crimes. They don't care about serial numbers, because half the time the guns that they're using are stolen. And so what does a serial number mean? The fact is that a serial number is a means by which the government can violate your Fourth Amendment and basically, go in and with undue search and seizure and look into your private effects and your private property. The fact that if you're on your own private property and you build a gun of your own and it doesn't have a serial number, there's no way that our founders would have ever accepted at all for the government to come onto your property and say, "Oh, I want to see the serial number on that gun." That is absolutely unconstitutional. And I think right now, probably greater than any other time in my lifetime, I think the Supreme Court might actually agree, because the Supreme Court has been much, much more pro Second Amendment. And of course, why shouldn't they be? Because you got Antifa and BLM showing up in front of their house, threatening their lives. So you know what? Damn right. The Supreme Court better protect the Second Amendment rights of the American people, because that is the only thing we have protecting us right now against a tyrannical government. So I'm very upset when I read these things and when I see what's going on here. It's clear to me that this is just another abuse by the federal government to try and curtail our rights, because they know if we don't have our Second Amendment right, then they can take all of our rights. That's all I want to say.
Hey, thanks for that, Nate. I gave you a follow. I'm trying to follow people in here. Retweet the room, follow each other. This is about all our rights. However, right now we got to focus on Walker's rights.
Hey, Steve,
Yeah.
just to let the crowd know and let the rest of the Sarah know and all. Hey, Nate's running for Congress in West Virginia. So I mean, these are the people that we're putting forward into Congress. That's how that's why we wanted to make sure Nate got in here, because hey, these are the type of candidates that we want to step forward.
Thanks, Marlon. Nate, to your point, here we are discussing a 22-year-old non-criminal, living his life young man. He's a kid to me. I'm 59, so I'm an old geezer that is getting jammed up over numbers on an object. It's an object. I mean, a gun is a paperweight until somebody picks it up and does something with it, right? It's just an object. It's just a thing. And until somebody decides to pick it up and do something bad with it, it's like a TV. It's like your computer or whatever else. And now we're looking at this young man who was just going about his life, building a gun, which is within his rights. Oh, wait a second. You don't have a number on it. And to Rob's point, he could have just Sharpied a number on it. I mean, this is ridiculous. And so, when Shane called me out this, I just got fired up. I'm like, look, this bullshit has to stop. Excuse my language.
Absolutely.
But it does. Because if we don't start standing up for these type of situations, we can end up in that situation. So this is a collective issue. This is a issue that affects us all. Unfortunately, Walker is carrying the cross of the issue. His family's carrying the cross of the issue, if that makes sense. And they're suffering under it. So all of us that believe in this and support it, we should support it. I was talking to Shane the other day, and he was like, well, can we get these people in, this people in? And I sent out a tweet tagging a bunch of, social media influencers that were pro 2A. Radio silence. And I told Shane, I'm like, look, I've done this before. I'm just telling you, I'll do it. But most of these people, they're too busy making money off of their pro 2A. If you're pro 2A and you care about the actual case law that supports the 2A, you have to be involved and take action and support things like this. And if you don't, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to call it out. You're not pro 2A. It's not happening to me. Right?
Exactly.
So I'll host right there. I know we got some hands up.
Sounds good. Thank you. Michael, you've been waiting so patiently. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a couple of things to touch on. Let Marlon say his speak, because people saying their stuff, I'm writing stuff down as they say it with what I've got to. But if you come back to me after Marlon, that'd be great.
No problem. Just do me a favor, keep a hand up so that I know you're there. Marlon, I think it's no quarter first and then you, but I could have it screwed up.
Yeah,
I'll be real
after
quick.
Marlon. I'll go after Marlon. Let Marlon do this thing here. I'll be right here.
No quarter, thanks. Hey, I want to I want to turn to Rob and Shane and Sarah. We run spaces all the time. You should utilize the space and please come in, and we'll dedicate some time for you guys to do the same thing we're doing here tonight. Get it introduced to a different crowd, and I'm sure, again, what I said, remember, it goes well beyond Twitter here, where the fundraising is going to go. So hopefully it'll help. So you guys are more than welcome. You can follow me, reach out. I have a space every day, 9 a.m. east. And, I'd love to have you on.
Well, just for a moment, gentlemen, I want to remind you on Saturdays, we also have a space at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we usually discuss the topic is civil liberties, voting strategies, the Constitution amendments, a lot of things like that. And this falls kind of into that. I think this falls right into that category of having our rights infringed upon. And I wanted to check in with Carmen and just say, hi, Carmen, are you doing all right over there? You with us?
I'm here.
All right. Just checking in on you. Let's go back to no quarter, please.
Good to hear you guys in here. Some fabulous and fantastic folks up in here. Rob, I'm right here with you in Minnesota, so appreciate what you do. You're on the front lines. There's nowhere to get any better advice on what's going on here in Minnesota gun laws. But I wanted to jump in here. First, I want to say to the family there, Walker and Sarah, that one day at a time, God is with you one day at a time. Try to enjoy those moments when you can. Don't let this thing, control your spirit and all that. Just one day at a time. I do not like the idea of that Supreme Court, all this waiting and stuff. And I have a question for all of you, and that is, have you written Walker's personal story and sent it to all of your legislators, Amy Klobuchar? I would even include Keith Ellison in on there, and all the left wingers, because if you give them the right story and his innocence and how young he is, you start talking about his character, it goes a long way, regardless of what side you're on politically. And they're going to assume, obviously, if you're 2A, that you're on the right side. And there's not a lot of friendliness here, particularly with Keith Ellison in this state. So, but I would encourage you, if you have not already, get those letters out to as many legislatures as you possibly can. I'm sure with Shane in here, that's already been a thought, and he's probably talking to folks. I'm Rob. You know a lot of people. I imagine that has already been covered. I just wanted to throw that in there. We do not want to wait. We want to get this done and over with as fast as possible, and I believe that that's the way we're going to do it. We just keep those letters coming, and if we have to do it as a community, and all of us start sending letters. If we could have somebody draft something or help us draft and get that off and to our legislators, I think that's going to be the quickest way to move this thing, and we shouldn't relent on those. Hey, thanks, Marlon and Magamission and Carmen and all you folks, man. You keep it on the ground. You always bring it back to those who can't or are unable to defend themselves under any circumstance. You understand that grassroots is the way, and that's how we take care of each other. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again.
Thank you, no quarter. So one of the things we were doing is to make sure that the conversation doesn't get lost is we're recording the space for one. Shane did give his testimony as to Walker's character, and we also heard from his mom, and our hearts go out to her. So I'm committed to making sure that this recording does go to YouTube and other platforms, and we'll make sure to put the FundMe page or FundMe link, and then we'll also put it on the Magamission website in the library. We'll put more information there. So there's some work to do, but like No Quarter said, there's things that other people can do that aren't doing that. I'm just doing the internet part and trying to get the data out there. And when you guys see that, when you see this, let's keep the conversation going, get people to hear it, so that way they will listen, and maybe they'll do what you said, no quarter. They'll take your words and they will also write a letter. Let's keep the conversation going. I might be out of turn, but I'm going to go to 3-tier. He's got some priorities there. 3-tier. Let's hear it, and then we'll move on.
Thanks, Matt. So I think it's important in this space to address why it is so important for people to support their state Second Amendment folks, the organizations that look out for people like Walker, in his case, Rob. Rob, I want to thank you. I emailed you after I talked to Shane. I'm like, yeah, I got to reach out on this. And dude, you were on it. You were all over it. I know you spend many hours that you're not paid for fighting crap like this. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank you for responding to me and engaging on this. But Walker's case really showcases what I always say. If you want to protect your right of self-defense and your right of gun ownership, you need to belong and support your state pro 2-8 people. Yes, they're always going to ask you for money, but you know why? They need the money. It takes money. Walker needs money. His case needs money. Folks, that's how it works. So, Rob, thank you for responding so rapidly and engaging with me. Thank you for being here. And, Walker and Sarah, thank you for being here, because you're standing up to be like, hey, folks, this is a real deal. This happens to real people every day. And, it's in my career of training and working on self-defense cases, it always amazes me how so many people, yeah, I'm a gun person, but no, I don't belong to a national organization or a state organization. And I'm like, okay, well, you might want to, because you might need them, right? Like right now, you got Rob working his butt off. You got Shane working his butt off to help him. So, folks, this is what I keep trying to tell people. And this is why I wanted to get Walker's case on here. And I worked to do that, is because this is the reality that we could all face. And sadly, we have a 22-year-old young man. I'm not going to say kid because I talked to him, but to me, he's a kid because I'm 59. He's bearing the cross of this. It's crazy. So, Rob, thank you. Thank you for being here. And I hope the people that are listening support their local state, organization, and that if anyone in here is from your state, they support you. And it's that important. So I'll host right there. We got hands up. Go ahead.
Michael, you next up.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. But remember, my Prez's hand was up too. I don't know why he dropped it, but anyway, I want to start with happy birthday to Walker, and then we're going to go on to, this is a political agenda. I mean, just straight up political agenda. That's all there is to it. With that said, what advertisement have you guys been trying to get out there? Do we have, a story that we can throw on Facebook? We can start getting spread around. Do we want to do that? Is that going to bring more down on him, or is it going to help if he's got 50,000, 100,000 people that are backing him, politically and writing letters to Congress and saying this is unconstitutional? Because that brings me to my next point. No law that is unconstitutional is to be put into law, period, in discussion. And again, I don't like showing intelligence, but it's okay. Lastly, Cash App. FedNow's going in July. Do we really want to send money to GoFundMe? I think we need to find something else. They're the ones that shut down the Canada truckers and took all their money. Venmo is just going to be going through FedNow. Is there some way that we can get a bank account set up that we can just deposit money into that said account for this young man's defense? Because believe it or not, man, federal government doesn't like that you're supporting them, they'll just tell you, well, we're taking all this money and you're out. I mean, it doesn't matter what was in there. There was $1 million in the account for the truckers in Canada, and they just garnished it, took it, all of it, every bit of it, United States and Canada side. And very last, the militia is not the National Guard, which most people think. The militia is more so the 3%. And just saying that, I just got our thing recorded, so I'm sorry for that. But yeah, the 3% is what changes the tyrannical government. Anyway, I'm going to hold it right there. And 3-tier, you sound 27, bro. I'm sorry. I've been on your your drive after drive and stuff, and yeah, you sound 27. But there you go. Anyway, happy birthday, Walker. And those are my last thoughts.
Thanks,
I'll chime
Michael.
in on a couple of things there real quick. I think Walker's mom, Sarah, set up both a Give, Send, Go and a GoFundMe. I know some people have some proclivities about that, but there's multiple channels there. As far as I know, GoFundMe has been good about getting the money through to everybody, so there haven't been any issues that way. But there are those. I think she can contemplate some alternative means of accepting funds, because it's going to be expensive regardless of how the funds come in, but there are a few options there. I did set up a microsite. It's 2alaw.com, just the number 2alaw.com. It's got links to both of those options, and maybe we'll figure out some other ones. We have been doing some light media. Sarah and I were on our local conservative radio station just last week, and she's been on a few other things. One thing that we're particularly concerned about is some individuals and some groups have expressed desires of trying to exert political pressure on the prosecutor and the sheriff and the judge. And I can't stress how terrible of an idea that is at this particular juncture, because none of them can do anything to strike back against the people who are pressuring them, but they can strike back against Walker. And he's going to be the only one who has to pay the price for that type of political pressure. And lawyers and judges and elected officials have very thin skins, and they will only punish Walker further. So we need to be careful about how the message gets out there. I think this has been a good space for us and getting the word out there. There's been already been a couple $100 donated, which has been great. But there are some avenues out there, but I think we're always looking at exploring more. But the important thing right now is just making sure that Walker wins. There will be time for political accountability later, but we can't do that right now at the expense of Walker's freedom.
Could I just make sure that everybody put a comment down in the bubble down below with maybe an American flag emoji, anything to show some unification here? And Rob, if you could make sure, I don't know if you did already, maybe you did, put whatever methods that are available to the public to donate. We already put a few down there, but if you have one more, make sure you put it down in the comment lower right section. That way it will not go away and I can go back and find it. I want to turn to Mike Boston. Mr. Boston is the president of NOAA, National Owner Operators Association. Mr. Boston, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry, we had a long day today. Started early. I feel like I've been on Twitter all day. On the phone, my phone's going dead. Mr. Kane, firstly, I want to say that we really did get the word out this weekend at the Texas Trucking Show. The guys really, they went above and beyond giving everyone the information about you and your run for Congress. And like I said before, you have the full support of the National Owner Operators Association. and our 40,000 plus members. Walker, I know you can't respond, and I know you don't know me. Happy birthday, brother. Keep your head up. Sarah, you're a great mom. I wish I had a mother like you. This is all going to come down to family and staying together and holding each other up and supporting each other. Walker, you're being made an example of. That's all this is. A wise guy prosecutor trying to make a name for himself, probably looking to run for some sort of office one day. And that's all this is about. Nothing more, nothing less. This is broken windows. I'm from New York, so I know what that's about. Listen, I have a couple of Facebook groups, one with 38,000 plus members, another one with another 2,000 or 3,000 members. I'd like to get your story out there whenever you're ready. You could use my platform to get your story out there, fundraise, whatever you need to do. I'll get the information from the guys at Magamission, and I'll put it in my, pin it to the top of the website, top of the Facebook page. The National Owner Operators Association supports anyone who has been treated unfairly, unjustly, not just truckers, anyone in this world who has been treated unfairly. The truckers of the National Owner Operators Association supports them. We'll do whatever we can to support them. And we support you and your family, Walker. Keep your head up, stay strong, look them in the eye, and we're with you. All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. If you can do all that, that would be great. Appreciate it, brother.
Mike, thank you for coming in and throwing your support behind this. This means more than you can imagine, brother. Thank you again. I think our next person up is going to be Janie. How are you?
Hey, good evening, guys. Sorry I joined the program a little late, and I had to go do my research and read about Walker. Happy birthday, Walker. Your story speaks to me. My grandfather was a master gunsmith. I watched as I grew up through life, hours on his business go from actual hours to hours by appointment to clientele only. And he traveled the world, went to Prague, the Czech Republic, worked on the guns at in Findlay, Ohio, at the National Grand Trap Shoot. Did all the bluing and jeweling on those guns in the vaults there. So I've been around guns and hunting and shooting my whole life. And honestly, where I grew up in Ohio, a small hick town in the absolute armpit of nowhere, you're just like, about 80% of the guys there out shooting, hunting, trapping, whatever, in the evenings and having a good time and being respectful to law enforcement. And then, like Mike said, they're making an example of you, and it breaks my heart. I've already forwarded your story over to my entire family in Ohio at Heritage Gunsmiths, where my grandfather built our gunsmithing business. And I just wanted you to know that I support you. I'm the collections affiliate for NOAA. I see people getting done wrong every day. Not to this magnitude, obviously, but this really speaks to me just with my family history background and all the hunting and everything I've done growing up. I mean, my 35 Wheeling has a 0% miss rate on it. I've never missed with it. So, I know what it's like to be out there and be a good shot and having fun with the guys or the girls. And I'm really sorry this is happening to you, brother. So, like Mike said, Noah stands behind you, and we'll continue to pump your story out there. Keep your head up, stay respectful. Don't let them get you down. Don't let them catch you off guard. I'm praying for you.
Jeannie, thanks so much for coming in and your support. And one thing I got to point out, National Owner Operators Association has dug in behind a few different things in quite a few different states. So they are there to help everyone, especially the owner operators. They're out there to get everybody to get a fair shake, just to tell their story a little bit about it. Not that most of us haven't already heard it. Highly reputable organization run by highly reputable people. And that's the important thing. They all stand behind what they say. I've heard these folks. I used to be in trucking when I was, knee high to a grasshopper. But I understand once I heard the problems they were having today, I was like, this is abysmal. It's abominable. Whoever heard of somebody that had to tell their family to go on food stamps because they couldn't get paid a decent rate? This is just wrong, folks. And on that, I'm going to shut my pie hole and go back to Nate. I'm sorry, Nate, that I had you hanging there so long, but I had to get
No,
my thoughts on this one out.
no problem, man. I'm sorry I got off so just angry at my first time to talk about this, but man, nothing upsets me more than when I see injustice. And by the way, that is not just something that I think, any patriot, is going to feel that way when they see, what's going on in our country right now. But that is something in particular that God gets angry about and has righteous indignation towards. And it's something that I came home after the 2020 election, and I went down. The White House asked me to come down and get involved in election integrity stuff, and I worked my butt off for 2 months, and I saw injustice in the courts over and over and over again. Where basically you had 57 cases brought before the courts, and not a single one of them allowed for an evidentiary hearing. And in some of those cases, the ones that I was on, which I was an expert witness on, like 7 of them, we had solid evidence of multiple felonies that had been committed in relationship to. So, and I bring that up to state that we have a major problem in our justice system right now. It is a big problem, and I'm very concerned about where we're at in our country. But I came home and I prayed about it because I was so depressed over it, and I felt like the Lord led me to a passage in Amos chapter 5. And I ended up reading through there, and what you see is an indictment of the nation of Israel over the fact that there was nonstop injustice in the courts at the time. There were judges taking bribes. There were the poor being deprived fair, trials. You had people who were, basically despising those that were righteous and telling the truth. All of these things were going on, and God was angry about it. And so this is an important issue, this issue of injustice that is happening in our country right now to people like Walker and Walker. To reiterate what many others have said here tonight, please do, keep your head up. Don't let this get you down. I have been through some hell myself with dealing with the FBI, and I was never prosecuted, but I had the FBI raid my home. As a protected whistleblower, they put my family through quite a bit, and so I know the anxiety and the stress that can come from that sort of thing, and I can tell you that my family and we will be praying for you. Our church will be praying for you and your family, and we will be supporting you in every which way we can. I am doing a lot of interviews right now because of my running for office. And I know you can't go out and talk to the media right now. I was in your shoes in that situation when I blew the whistle and I got raided. I had my lawyer telling me, look, don't go on and talk on the media and stuff. And so I had to wait for like a year, and that was tough because the only way that really anybody knew what was going on was if somebody else was willing to talk on my behalf and basically make people aware of what was going on with my story. And so I can tell you, I will be speaking about your story to others. I didn't know about your story until just tonight when somebody invited me onto the show, and I went on and read about your story, and that's why I was so upset when I came on, because I had just freshly read it, and I will be speaking out on every show that I go on where I can to bring awareness to your story, because it does need to get out there. People need to hear about it. People need to know about it, because if they can go after you, and then they can go after any of us, and that's the truth of it. For ridiculous things, and this issue of people within these federal agencies making decisions, as to something is going to be illegal, even though they're not legislators, or in the case of legislation, has been long time past, I hear all the time from people say, oh, well, that has precedent and that's, been the law for a long time. Just because something's been the law for a long time doesn't make it right. Look, for the longest time in our country, slavery was considered constitutional. And then eventually they realized the error of their way, and that changed. And so, we have to challenge these things. We have to keep the fight going on these issues of constitutional matters. And I will tell you, Walker, that when I went through what I went through, I had no idea what God was going to do with that. And but I do believe that these things that you're going through right now, there's a purpose in it that is much higher than yourself. And I know that God is involved. So keep up the faith and don't give up, and don't let your heart become dismayed. Uh, keep praying. Eventually, what you're going through right now will become a testimony in your life to bring glory to God, and hopefully to bring about change in our country, to right some wrongs, that have been going on. So I just want to encourage you with that, and God bless you, and God bless you, Sarah, for everybody needs a mom like you, and we're praying not just for Walker, but also for you and your family, and we know me and my wife were sitting here and just shaking our heads at what's going on. We love you guys, though.
Hey, I'm going to pipe in real quick, Nate. Thanks for that. Walker's case kind of brings forward this whole, like, who can make law, who can't. So, the ATF recently passed this ban on pistol braces. Well, the ATF can't make law. Congress and the Senate can make law, federal law, right? I mean, let's get back to the Constitution. The ATF can't, all the ATF can do, well, they're not even, I'm not going to get into that, but they can't make law. So, one of the things that I think that's super important about Walker's case is that it really brings us to the forward of civics, the Constitution, and the law. And his case is a really good example of what's happening in our country. Unfortunately, it's at his expense. So we have to defend Walker. We have to support Walker. Walker needs to win. We got to support the family because it's super stressful. And, I'm not trying to make Walker, how do you say it, a poster child, like politically. But unfortunately, they kind of made him a poster child, unfortunately. Like, this is kind of a hill to die on for his rights and everybody else's rights. So, after I talked to Walker on the phone, I'm like, wow, this kid, like, he's dialed in. Like, it fired me up. And so I just hope it fires all you up. And thank you for being here. We got some hands up, so I'll host it. But thanks, Nate, for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you to everybody.
Sorry,
Go
boss.
ahead,
Go
Megan.
ahead.
No.
Yeah, just going to say thanks. I don't know who was talking next. I was going to go to, well, no, no quarter, please.
Hey, thanks again. I just wanted to reiterate the angle at which we want to take. I mean, there's nobody more, in your face than I am, especially after what we've gone through in the past 3, 4, 5 years. I'm in the fight with my fists up and ready, but this has to be approached. I just want to reiterate that we don't want to be aggressive, at least not visibly. I think I'm agreeing with Rob Dorr when it comes that the last thing you want to do is make it into a fight and add fuel to the fire. Here in Minnesota, that's all you're going to be doing if you approach it aggressively, like we all want to. So, again, I want to say that the letters are of his personal character and his innocence and his life. It just needs to be up front. People respond to that better at this point. That's going to be the angle I believe that's going to be the most effective here, and we want to get it done quickly. So I say get those letters out and start doing this stuff as soon as possible. The legislators, like Amy Klobuchar, the folks I just named, Keith, on both sides, Emmer, everybody should be getting a letter directly from this young man and his family. The old snail mail kind of letter. I tell you, it works. I got Al Franken to respond to one of mine and got a $15,000 hospital bill paid for because of the way they did things. So I know it works. And he didn't want to do anything for anybody on the right. So it's effective. The other thing I wanted to do real quick is ask Rob for the room to kind of explain the difference between what he does and being covered by the USCCA, having that type of insurance that covers your. We have that here that covers you for any legal situations that you might find yourself in. Can you explain something like that to us, Rob?
Yeah. So the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, we're an advocacy organization. We don't do we're not like a criminal defense fund or anything like that insurance would cover. We get involved just to try to highlight this. We do some litigation that's more on the civil litigation. For example, we sued the Minnesota State Fair for banning firearms. We recently won in federal court for 18 to 20-year-olds being unable to get a permit to carry. We won that case, which Attorney General Ellison is appealing. So those are the types of litigation that we get involved in, proactive litigation. We don't get involved in criminal defense funds per se, like with our donors' money. But what I have done in this instance is lend my time and my legal education and my legal work to helping his case, but also the platform that we have to help highlight the injustice to get out there, just how wrong this is and make sure that other people get involved. So we don't do the things that like USCCA does. That being said, I don't think USCCA would have done anything in Walker's situation. USCCA is if you use your firearm in self-defense, that type of situation, I think this is the type of case that gets into the weeds about legalities that isn't something USCCA would get involved in. So it's not to say that that insurance isn't worthwhile. Everybody can make their own determination on that. It's just I don't think that when I look at the types of cases that USCCA covers, this wouldn't be something. So. I don't think there is really an insurance policy you can get against bad laws that are being brought against you criminally. But I'm doing what we can through our organization and our platform to try to highlight this injustice and get a win on Walker's behalf.
So
wait a minute. I'm going to jump. Wait a minute. I'm going to jump in there, and I also want to just hold on. I want to point out that Rob has volunteered an enormous amount of his personal time outside of he's doing a lot of stuff. Like Rob is when we're in session, he's there every damn day and like all day. It doesn't matter if it's Second Amendment or not. He's there paying attention to everything. And also he is obviously part of Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, but he pays attention to a lot of things, but he has been very, very helpful in this. He's donated a lot of his personal time. And he's doing a lot of other things now, trying to forward his career going forward. So I just want y'all to give like a thumbs up to Rob because he has been an amazing guy in this. That's why I called him, I don't know, a hell of a long time ago when this all started. And who knew back then? Like, did the kid do something bad? I don't know. And so we all looked at it, and Rob looked at it, and several others did. And here's where we are. So I know Rob would not be here if we didn't agree that the kid did nothing wrong. And I shouldn't say kid, and I'm sorry, Walker, but I hope I see you tomorrow because you got to fix my damn transmission. But nevertheless, either way, just as you evaluate it, look at the statutes, look at the federal law, and how it relates to one another. And Rob, help me with a lot of that as well as many others. That this is a bad case of what they're trying to do to him, and if this happens here, it's going to happen elsewhere. I mean, if they allow this to happen, it's going to get more complicated at that point, and not only for Walker but for everybody else in every other state, whether you're a blue state or red state, because there are many red states that have really bad prosecutors or really bad county attorneys in different counties. So it depends on where you are, when you are. And so just, this is a very, very important thing. And I think I might have been 3-tier, Steve might have pointed out that this is kind of one of those precedent-setting cases that could be one day. And that's why it's so important to be in the front side of this. And it's unfortunate Walker is the, unfortunately said, poster child of this. But here we are. So Walker's willing to put up the gumption and willing to fight it, and he's willing to put the time forward. I mean, which I don't think he should have to. He's got a lot of education to do yet, and he's got a lot of other stuff he could be doing better, like actually just finding a young lady at some point and then moving on with his life, which would be a really nice thing for him. But at this point, he's got to worry about what his future is, which is absolutely insane to me, because he shouldn't even be looking at this. And I don't know about sending letters to Keith Ellison, because I don't know that I want to bring him any more attention, which I'm sure he's already aware of it. And Rob, you might agree with me.
I'm on your side on that one.
Yeah, the last thing we want is Keith to take this one over. But maybe that would be better for us. Maybe this would probably have 2,000 people at that point if that was the case. I don't know. But nevertheless, I don't want him to get there. The better thing is to just get this thing dismissed or whatever they do, and then get to the next part and then move on from there. And Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so let's say we go to the next, September 5th is the next court date. So if they decide to go ahead and proceed with or charge him with these felonies, whatever, convict him of these felonies, then it goes to appeals court. Nothing says he's going to be let out on bail. There's no way of knowing. So even at that point,
if he gets convicted at trial court, he'll be in jail. Assuming he's sentenced to jail, he'll be in jail until we win on appeal.
So, but what's really funny though is the person that just carjacked somebody gets let out on bail, and the person that just killed somebody gets let out on bail. But this kid who didn't hurt anybody, who didn't do anything wrong, he literally is facing the possibility of being stuck in jail. Walker, I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just putting out reality here for other people, because unfortunately you don't fit the right demographic. And you could be stuck in jail until you get to the appellate court, which could be dragged out for bloody ever. Is that correct, Rob?
Honestly, with the type of sentence he's looking at, he may be done with his sentence before we even get through the appeals process.
So
hey, Shane, real quick, let's define this. It's not jail. He would be in prison. Prison is far different than jail.
Well, fine. Incarceration, prison, wherever would they hold him in county jail during the judicial process, Rob?
Until he's sentenced at trial court. If his sentence is less than 1 year, he would probably serve it in jail instead of prison. Honestly, the jail's no walk in the park either. When I worked for the sheriff's office at the largest jail in the state, a lot of those guys would have rather been at Lionel Lake's prison instead of in the county jail.
No, I understand that. So either way, we have a very young man looking at like all this, and my God, we probably just put a whole lot of fear into Walker and his mom, Sarah. That wasn't the intent of this by any means. This is why this is so important, because this case is going to be precedent setting, and Rob has been on the front line of this thing and working in the background. He's donated so much of his time. Him and I have talked in the background. I, I cannot emphasize enough how important this is and how expensive this is going to be. And one of the best things we can do is show a large amount of money. And I know everybody hears this all the time. We got to raise money. We got to raise money. I mean, Rob's group does it too. I get it. I get hit for it all the time from every damn nonprofit out there, or non-governmental organization. The good ones are the good ones. But if there's a lot of money sitting there, that may make them rethink this and going, I better rethink this. Because there's an awful lot of people behind this case, and this is not going to go well.
I do want to jump in on that real quick. And I think we know that the prosecutors are watching these media outlets because they've reached out to the attorney and family members about some things that have been said that they weren't happy about, how they were communicated and things like that. So we know that they're very likely there's a prosecutor listening in on this space right now. The best thing that we can do is show that the immense resources that the county and state has to bring against Walker aren't going to be enough, that he is not going to be able to he's not going to be forced into a corner and backed down. So if we show on, that we've raised $30,000-$40,000 for his defense, they're much more likely to start rethinking their, how firmly they want to dig their heels in. Because if this prosecutor does have political or future career ambitions, nothing looks worse than one, losing at trial, but then secondarily getting tossed out on appeal because your complaint was garbage. So the best thing we can do right now at this point, with the motion to dismiss already having been denied, is show that Walker has the resources to see this all the way through and to make a big embarrassment of everybody who's been pushing for this throughout the process.
Correct. And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not a lawyer in this world that wants to have a losing thing on their record. Am I correct? Because a lawyer, like, the best thing you have to sell your career for going forward is a win. Is that correct?
Well, no judge wants to be overturned on appeal, and no prosecutor with future ambitions wants their case to be overturned on appeal. So, a strong defense is the best thing we can do right now.
Hey, Rob, this is Sarah. I am out walking my dog, so I apologize if it's hard to hear me. I'll be quick.
Wow.
But,
thanks, Shane. I was just going to jump in really quick. Rob,
hold on. I got it, Marlon. Please. Okay. Thank you. Carmen, you can't hear Sarah speaking.
Oh.
So please. No, Sarah, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I have a question really quick, Rob. Would you be willing to speak a little bit to the Bruin decision? Because I know that has been something that people have asked me, and I have quickly done my best to try to learn about. Conveniently, the Bruin decision came down after this happened to Walker, after he was initially charged. But can you kind of explain that and what that would look like potentially, either with a with the jury trial or at the appellate level?
Yeah, absolutely. So what the Bruin decision, of course, as I'm sure most of the audience knows, established a precedent. It got rid of the balancing test that laws have to balance public safety with the Second Amendment rights and things like that, and basically established that if there is no historical precedent at the time of the founding or at the time of the 14th Amendment for a gun control law, then it is not enforceable in the United States. That those arms that are in common use, that are protected by the laws that were in place at the time of the founding, are kind of negate a lot of these laws. So in that vein, of course, at the time of the founding, there was no requirement for serialization. At the time of the 14th Amendment, there was no requirement for serialization. That argument wasn't very fleshed out in the motion to dismiss, because at the time that was being crafted, the Brune decision was literally just brand new. The judge, of course, in denying the motion to dismiss, cited the often misinterpreted and misquoted line from Heller that the Second Amendment isn't unlimited. That's what the judge utilized to say, well, clearly the founders would have supported, forced serialization of firearms because the Second Amendment isn't unlimited, which is kind of a ridiculous premise. But what this means for Walker is, should he lose his trial, which again, I'm optimistic that that's not the case, but should we have to take it that far, we could do what's called a writ of habeas and bring his case into federal court, saying that the state law that was utilized to convict him of possessing an unserialized privately manufactured firearm is at odds with the Second Amendment under Brune. And that gets us into federal court, which is a significantly favorable venue for us, especially with the Eighth Circuit, with all but one of the judges being appointed by Republican presidents. It's a significantly more favorable venue for our position. I hope we don't have to get that far. I'm hoping that we can win for Walker on the merits, as much as I would love that kind of precedent to echo throughout the Eighth Circuit and possibly the whole country. I don't think you guys can underestimate the psychological, the financial, and just the societal toll that this takes on this family, particularly when his stepfather and his family lives in Canada, and if he's convicted of this crime, he cannot visit his own family if he's convicted of this. So as much as I'm sure a lot of you would love to see this taken all the way to the Supreme Court, we do have to think about the personal cost that's being exerted on Walker and his family.
Okay, I got to chime in real quick, Rob. That's the point of the space, is that, we can clinically talk about, case law, this, that, the system. This is about people. This is about a family. This is about a young man who did nothing wrong. This is about, it is about rights, but, look, folks, and this is why I talk about, in defending self-defense spaces, which I'm not promoting. I'm just saying, I'm saying that because I'm going to repeat what I've always said. People don't understand the human toll of this litigation. It takes a major toll on people. So why the case law is important, and what's happening is important legally, the people get forgotten, and they can't be forgotten. Like, yeah, I don't know. Look, what I'm saying is that, when Shane called me and then I talked to Walker, I'm like, holy shit, like, these people are being railroaded, and the system is working these people over. I got fired up about this because I'm fired about the people and what they're going through and what they're trying to defend themselves against. Yeah, the case law is important. That is super important. But this could be any one of us tomorrow for any given reason. And here you go. We're in it. So are you going to do something about it or not? I don't know. But Rob, I appreciate your perspective. Thanks for your hard work. And, communities have to be involved, and they have to connect with real people that are going through this. This shit goes on. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cuss. This stuff goes on every day in our country, but you don't hear about it. Well, when you hear about it, you should do something about it. You should realize that your neighbor, whether it's 4 states over or whatever, the case law that gets created in the Ninth Circuit or the Third Circuit or whatever, you know what? Attorneys, they research that stuff and they pull that in. So it's not only about that, but it's about the human element of what these people are going through, which I see in my work all the time. It's horrible. This shit has to stop somehow, some way. Hopefully what we've done here tonight supports Sarah's family, Sarah, Walker, all the siblings, everyone. You know, it's horrible. And the best outcome we have is not guilty. Oh, okay, well, we can win on appeal. All right, well, what? That's 5 years later or whatever. And Rob, you just said it. He would probably serve out his sentence before it got handled. No, we need a win. We have to get a win. And that's a balancing act. Like, it's a balancing act of promotion, but not hate, pressure, but not being, crazy, right? So, anyhow, I'll holster it there for now. Thanks.
So I'm
Thanks.
going to jump in quick. I kind of anticipated this space was going to be from like 7 to 9. We're a little bit past 9. I know Rob has donated an incredible amount of his time to this whole thing, and many of us have a lot of things to do. I know there's 2 hands up. I'm not opposing that, but I'm going to have to dip out here fairly soon. I'll stay on just to get through these next few hands, but and if Rob has any like wrap up kind of comments, because he's been so helpful in this. And he's not the only one. I want you all to understand he is not the only one that has helped on this. He's just kind of the front leading guy. He's gone on the radio with Sarah because somebody has to make sure, like, yeah, Sarah, don't say that. Don't answer that question. Let me answer that one, because just knowing the legal side of it, because Rob actually has a pretty good damn brain on him, and I know that because I know Rob really well. Just so you all know, when I got elected, the funny thing is, Rob, you're going to enjoy this, and you're going to give me a thumbs up here in a minute. We had a little agreement. If I got elected, he would never walk into my office because he advocates for Second Amendment. That's what he does down at the Capitol. That's his number one job. It's not the only thing he does, but that's his number one job. But he would never walk into my office. So he stands outside my office and says, "Hey, come out here." It's the funniest thing ever. So, because he knows he doesn't need to come in my office. He doesn't need to come like twist my arm or any of that kind of crap, because he knows I'm pro Second Amendment. And that is the one kind of fun little thing that Rob and I have. And once in a while I chase him around and like try to ask him questions, and he's actually an amazing man, and I can't emphasize for him enough. He's been so helpful for Walker, and Rob, once we get done with this call, I got to call you because I got to tell you something else. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, Rob and their organization does a lot of really good work, and largely only due to Rob, because he is always there every day. And he literally puts an iPad in one chamber, the Senate chamber, if he can't be in both at one time, so he can record that while he's sitting in the House chamber, so he can see it all in real time. Like, the guy is everywhere. It doesn't matter if we go till 4 a.m, he's there. And then he's a much bigger guy than I am, and I know he's always carrying, so I always feel comfortable walking out of the Capitol with him. So either way, at the end of the day, this is going long, and you can keep it going. It's fine, but I know Rob and I have other things to do, and I don't want to keep us long, because I do have calls to get back to. So let's get to these other hands, and then we'll press on from there.
Thanks for that, Shane. Hey, real quick, I do want to address, and Rob, thanks for being here. I know you guys might have to dip out, and we can do whatever after that. But look, you see that the concealed carry thing, that's for criminal acts. It's not for civil. So let's just be clear on that. We covered that in some defending self-defense spaces. What Walker is facing is a different type of allegation, criminal charge. So they won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. If you're charged with the crime of illegal possession, an SBR, whatever, a technical gun crime, that prepaid legal is what I call it. It's not really insurance, it's prepaid legal. It doesn't cover that. Those companies specifically cover, oh, I defended myself, but I got arrested. So I just wanted to chime in. Hey, Rob, appreciate you, man. I sent you a DM. Shane, thanks for bringing this to my attention. I'm glad we had the space. Sarah, love to talk to you sometime in the future. And I sent a DM to Walker. Again, happy birthday. Let's stay in touch. Let's keep this going forward. Thanks for everyone's support. Thank you, Matt, Iceman, and Carmen for hosting this. When I brought this up, I just appreciate you guys for doing that. And Nate, thanks for speaking up and talking. And God bless you all. And Walker, you just have a good night, man. Just rest easy. You're in God's hands, and there's people looking out for you. So hang tough, buddy.
Thank you, 3-tier. I just wanted to welcome Bootleg to the floor, but before I do that, Bootleg, please hold on. Rob, thank you for all the work you're doing. I did follow you. If you want to stay in contact with me, that'd be great, so I can get involved. And I just want to, my heart goes out to Sarah for what she's enduring and this whole ordeal. And my heart goes out to Walker as well, the whole Walker family. I'm sorry. And yeah, so if we could just go through these hands, and then maybe we'll have a soft close after that. And let's welcome Bootleg. Bootleg, you've been patient. Thank you, sir. Please.
Yeah. So what I'm gathering is from what I've read, because I tried to be educated on what was going on. This is new to me, but they are charging Walker criminally for having firearms that were not serialized. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, then the avenue in which to go about it is to defend his due process. Because before you get charged criminally, you have to be charged civilly. That's where all the evidence is gathered. What we have in recent law, or I should say legality, because it's not law, is that they are forgoing due process. And OJ, I want to remind everybody that this is not something you should dismiss, because OJ Simpson killed his wife Cole. He absolutely did. However, they charged him criminally first, and his defense lawyers argued that violated his due process by not charging him civilly, because civilly is where evidence is gathered, and once that's processed, he's convicted there, then that goes to criminal. That gets referred to criminal. So we're getting a crap hand here in America almost on every case, because nobody is defending due process. I don't even hear one lawyer defending due process. And I respect the lawyers that went through the school and things like that, but law is the law, and due process is one of the only things that keeps Americans from getting their asses handed to them by totalitarians.
Thanks, Bootleg. I believe the issue with one of the judges in the due process being held up was COVID, under the premise of COVID or retire. There was also a retirement of one of the judges. There was also an issue of, I believe, backlog due to COVID and things like that, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct,
Yeah,
Rob?
no, I get it. There's no excuse for not adhering to due process.
Yes, I agree. I understand. Michael?
Okay, I forgot, but Sarah, you're one heck of a mom. A lot of women would have thrown their arms up in the air, but I want to remind you one more time. I'm going to go against this GoFundMe. Find something else. Kyle Rittenhouse's defense for GoFundMe was stopped by GoFundMe because it was political. They shut down millions of dollars every year for people that donate. Nobody gets their money back. Where the money goes, nobody knows, but GoFundMe will steal your money, especially if an organization like ours says, hey, why don't we pony up and send $10? When you times that by 40,000, you're getting just a chunk of money you didn't never think you were going to get, period. But try Venmo or Square, or get out there, do some research. Find I can't remember the Christian group that does the same thing as GoFundMe, but you'll never get shut down by them.
We've got Give, Send, Go. That's an option. Venmo will be up there shortly.
Okay, so you get my point. But people stay away from GoFundMe. Kyle Rittenhouse's defense was shut down. All the money in it, they took back. Nobody knows where it even went. Okay. Furthermore, if it does go to jury, push for nullification. Okay. That's just what I'm saying there. I'm somebody in my organization. My job is to figure out how to use what they're using against us to make things work for our way. And my suggestion in this, and this is for future reference, let's set up something that holds people that, because when I go to my ballot, it says, are you renominating this judge in your city, in your county, in your state, right? I know nothing about them. You go to the internet, you try finding something out about them. There's nothing there. You can't even find their political affiliation. You can't find nothing like that. So why don't we set up a nationwide thing that goes through with these judges and these people that slip through the cracks that nobody knows anything about, and start getting them out, okay? If they're going against constitutional rights like they are in this case, make that known to everybody. Don't go against them. Don't go say, hey, we're gonna go against you and piss them off at that point in time. But start something where we can go to that page and say, yeah, that's a good judge, or that's not a good judge, or this person went against the Constitution entirely. And it's, again, I'm not going to rattle on about this, but something needs to be done to prevent this in the future. Right now, yes, we need to get money for this young man. And he is a child, in a lot of our eyes, because he's really young. But that's how we have to present him anyway. Do we want to send a child to prison? Okay. Over something, that's grandfathered in, obviously. And, it's, again, I don't want to get into too much of it, but we need to, right now, for this young man, we need to get, as much as we can for his defense, because he's already in it. But in the future, we need to make it known that, hey, the judge that said, oh, yeah, there's plenty here, had they not been stepping down, they might have been voted out the next year that they were up for election. Okay. We need to get something that the people can go to and see what these characters are doing in actuality, because I didn't even know about this case. Okay, I'm in Utah. I had no idea about this case. We've got no publicity out there about it. Kyle Rittenhouse was big enough that judge knew that he was in the spotlight, and he did accordingly to the Constitution. This judge sounds like she's just, wanting to make a little bit of a name for herself in the background. And so does the other one and the one previous to it. So, again, I'm saying this is a political stunt, really. And they're trying to gain political recourse for it. So we need to do something in the future to prevent this from happening. If they know they're being watched, they're not going to do as many stupid moves. And I'm just going to park her right there. But Sarah, you are one heck of a mom. And again, happy birthday, Walker, and, just hang in there. And, I don't know how Mike, my president is on this, but I'm kind of adamant because I am a 2A, I am 3%, and I do have my concealed, and this just pisses me off.
Thanks, Michael. Before we move on to Marlon, I just wanted to kind of circle back once again. If people didn't hear it before. Rob, do you feel like due process was, as Bootleg was saying, I mean, if people didn't hear it before, can you give your take on due process here as a factor that was maybe subverted in some way? And we've already gone down the setting. This is a precedent case where we don't want this to happen because it could set a precedent. But Rob, do you feel like, I mean, I know you laid it out. Is there the subversion of due process here in your eyes? I mean, it's a clear case of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, I think there is a valid argument to be make that due process was validated. Unfortunately, I think in the eyes of the court and the precedent, especially in Minnesota, COVID gave a lot of leniency to a lot of violations that should not have. Like when the ability to present evidence in court, you know, as somebody who goes to court, the ability to present evidence in person is significantly different than just sharing your screen on Zoom. You know, so in that sense, I feel like that there isn't the same weight of due process, and that is a valid claim. Unfortunately, in the name of COVID, a lot of those things have been done. Now, I'm not saying that as a justification or in any sense that I agree with it, more as that's just been a generally accepted practice in the eyes of the court.
Well, Rob, you know, if an election can be subverted by COVID, I guess it would mean that anything could be subverted by COVID, or it just, the timing couldn't have been any worse. It really couldn't have been any worse. And like Sarah said, it seems like everything that could have went wrong just happened to line up and go wrong. The COVID issue, really bad timing, but like Bootleg was saying, regardless, I mean, and you know, he still deserves due process, and but to your point,
COVID doesn't mean shit.
To your point, Rob, what you were saying was that the evidence couldn't be presented properly because it was being done via Zoom and not in person, and it has a little bit more weight when it's done in person. And I feel you there, so I agree. Marlon, please.
Well, you know, I know Rob Hackades gave some advice not to motivate them politically behind the judge, and I get that tactic, but you know, you could energize the civilians where the case is going to be heard. I could imagine that there could be protests to put this judge more on center stage than just sitting back and letting it happen. I think if you could, you know, Sarah, if it is, you know, the where the case is going to be heard, I could imagine you know, a Facebook, you know, campaign to get some protesters out there to put them on center stage. I think that's, you know, a reasonable protest.
Yeah, you know, and one thing that our organization excels at is exerting political pressure. I just want to make sure that it's done at the right time and not in a way that is going to adversely affect Walker, because keeping Walker out of jail and making sure that he's free should be our number one concern of everybody listening to this. But that being said, you know, there are some things that can be done that won't be seen as attempted judicial interpretation, that are clear First Amendment things. And I don't want to tip the deck too far, but you're not far off from some of the things that I've been thinking of.
And I'm going to back that up going, you know, I represent about, over half of Sherburne County. I have a colleague that represents a smaller part, but the more populated part, who also is not opposed to Walker, if you will. So the two of us represent all of Sherburne County, and we both support Walker. I'm speaking for somebody I shouldn't, but whatever, I am. And nevertheless, there is ways you can do things peacefully and, you know, whatever, and put pressure on. But I'm not in support of pressure putting pressure on different government agencies, because what prevents Moms Demand Action from doing the exact same thing? So that would be a bad thing. But as far as when this all comes to play and having a show of support in one way or the other, that would be a really good thing. And I think, and Rob and you and I will talk about this later, but it's all about just don't force the hand of the other side that could actually outweigh us, because they have a lot more like Bloomberg money, and we don't have that kind of like dough laying around. So, at the end of the day, it's all about keeping Walker out of jail, and it's all about doing the right thing. And I'll defend this young man this is one of those hills I'll die on, because I believe in this young man. He knows it. His mother knows it. I actually just posted down the purple bubble. If anyone you want to pull it up, there's a picture of a dog with a shirt on it. And if you want to push it up to the thingy bobber, whatever you call it, his mother and I, well, he was too, but unofficially, in a parade. And she put one of my shirts on her dog, which I just joked and said, well, we go ahead and post that on social media. Wait till you see how long I get accused of animal abuse. That'd be funny. But nevertheless, she was there. We all walked together. It was a really good thing. We had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people. Walker had people come up he was driving. He was not walking in the parade actively. He was just simply driving the truck. And people came up and just to me and said that they thought this whole thing was BS, whatever, expressed their views. And I said, would you like to meet the young man? And they said, I would love to. I'm like, well, he's driving the truck right there. I'll go stand in front of it. If I stop walking, he can't move. And they did. So he had a couple of those come up to him, throughout the duration of the parade. It was pretty cool. Walker, what I want you to understand out of all this, I know you can't talk, and I don't want you to talk. Know you have a crap load of support from people all over this nation. And Sarah, so do you, because I know you worry about your boy. And that's the point of all this. He's got to have an amazing amount of force to show this county prosecutor, which actually is an assistant prosecutor, or whatever the hell they call him, an ADA or whatever they call him, and they have to see that this young man, he may look like nothing, and he didn't have two nickels to rub together. He's just going to college. He's just working at a local car dealership, turning wrenches, and then working at a little auto parts store, and then helping out every friend. By the way, something that Rob said earlier, I was going to jump in on this, but while he was going to high school, the little shit worked on a farm. And if anybody's a self-employed person, there is no better employee than somebody that is a farm worker. There is no better employee, because they know how to work. Because right now we have a whole bunch of Sallys that don't know how to work. And so if you worked at a farm, you are the best worker ever. So, but he was one of those two. Anyway, and so my whole point of this is to try to get him as much money as possible to show this stupid little, I could use like expletives right now. I want to really bad. My trade site says I should want to, but my political site says don't do it. But whatever.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You're
no,
good.
I know, but just saying, this person wants to make an example out of this young guy because they don't think he has two nickels to rub together, and they can make an example out of him. And, well, all I can say is, God, I want to use the same expletive again, ran up against the wrong young man, because you know what? The cool thing is he's a friend of mine, and Rob is a friend of mine, and many other people are a friend of mine. And it just happens that, like, I know a lot of people, and Rob knows a lot of people, and we're all looking at this going, no, this poor kid's getting screwed. So we're all going to get behind him, and we're all bringing it forward. and we're all going to say, hey, for all of you that are like truly constitutional people, this is incredibly important. If they do this, this is going to affect everybody everywhere. And it can't happen to him. Because if it happens to him, it's going to happen to others. It's going to happen in Texas. It's going to happen in Idaho. It's going to happen in Utah. Trust me, it'll happen in the red states too. It doesn't even matter because they have blue judges as well, bought off judges from whatever. And so if we don't start it here, Walker is the tip of the iceberg right now on what's going on. And
hey, Shane, real quick, can I jump in? I think people mistake like, oh, well, it's not in the Ninth Circuit Court. It's in this circuit court or whatever. What people don't understand is, when I work on self-defense cases, they pull case law from other circuit courts. So, yeah, this affects everyone at some point, right?
it happened here. It happened here back when Rob Dorr knows a friend of mine who's an attorney that sued our governor, a lawyer extraordinaire. Rob, you'll know who I'm referring to. He sued the governor to get the restaurants and bars and small businesses like hair salons and all that open back up. And I think they did it once and it didn't go anywhere. It went before a liberal judge and it got shut down. And then they watched other cases throughout the nation and they found how it was one state elsewhere in a small little state, nowhere, whatever. And so they did the same thing. They kind of tweaked it for our state. And when Governor Walz was served with that thing, he turned the dials back. Literally went and did a press conference in 2 hours. And Rob, I know you know who lawyer extraordinaire is, and it happened. So all in real time, and so it does matter. It creates precedent. And then the judges here, or actually they looked at it and went, oh, so a judge down there, and it was a southern state, but in a liberal area, well, they ruled in favor of whatever attorney or plaintiff. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't get all that, but whatever. And so he knew immediately. And Steve Grove was served, which was then the commissioner of Deed, which I don't want to get into all that, but as well as Governor Walz. And I think Ellison was too, the attorney general. But Governor Walz literally did a press conference in less than 2 hours upon being hand served by the thing. And Rob, if you didn't know about that, feel free to call lawyer extraordinaire because I know you know who I'm talking about. And one of the best things ever. So they were allowed to open back up under the lockdown orders. And this is how it works, because if they can find a case somewhere that allowed people to open back up, somebody else will find a way to shut somebody else down and strip away rights. This is how lawyers work. And our rights are being stripped away rapidly, as far as I'm concerned. And we have to get ahead of this. And Walker's case is very, very precedent setting. It could be. And we just have to be in the front line of this thing. So the more everybody can do, I don't care, $5, $10, do something. And if there was 30,000 people gave $5, that would be even better, because there was 30,000 people. I don't even care. 30,000 people gave $1 because they would see the number of people. It's a matter of showing there's a mass of people that are supporting this guy, and then they realize the force they're fighting. And is it something they want to deal with? Because they probably want the next job, like kind of Rob said, or whoever. They probably want the next elevation of whatever occupation they want, whatever they do. And that's probably their main goal in life. Is this the one to die on for them? Yeah, probably not. If there's going to be a lot of opposition. Rob will continue to fight with me and help Walker. I know he will. He's always been a good man. There's many others. I can't mention their names right now. One was on the call earlier on the space. But there's many other people helping on this. So all I can say is do what you can, and let's get this poor guy through these crazy times, and depending on how it goes, well, then we'll probably do another one if it goes sideways. But I'm hoping we're with Rob on this one where they just kind of go, yeah, this got a little ugly, and we're just going to tap out and dismiss it. That would be my ultimate goal. I mean, I would love to see that. I know Walker would love to see that. I know Sarah would love to see that. Rob would love to see that. I know we all would, but just let's plan on the worst and then hope for the best. There you go.
Thanks, Shane.
Hey,
Every
Shane, real quick, and
yeah,
that's a good motto. Plan for the best, hope, or plan for the worst, hope for the best. Like that's a SWAT training, right? Like that's what you got to do. And I'm going to holster it for the night. I want to thank Matt, Iceman, and Carmen for co-hosting this. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. Walker, thank you for being here and listening to this as we talk about your life and your future. Hang in there, buddy. I sent you a text. Prayers are for you and your family. I just want to express my appreciation for Shane and Rob, how they got on this. Thank you, Shane, for calling me and making me aware of this. Dude, that's like, it's kind of been underrated. Like, oh, my phone's ringing at 11:30 on Sunday. And you're like, hey, this is what's going on. And dude, you're all over it. I think that speaks volumes about your mission and what you're doing. So God bless you for that. Rob, keep up the good work. Anyone who's in here that is in Minnesota, you got to join the organization that Rob's in. I know those people, and I know Shane because I've talked to him for hours on this. They're putting in time you don't see, but the time is the investment. Unfortunately, the investment is the gamble of the legal system. And, why we want to support the family in prayer and having a support system at the end of the day, his fight is kind of about money because that's how it works. So thank you all for putting this on and supporting it. Walker, my phone's on 24/7. Like I told you, you and your family are going through not only financial strain and this whole process in the system, but you know what? Some people might DM you if you need to talk, just to hang out and talk. That's good. Mental health is good because this shit, oh man, sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but this stuff can get to you. Like it can get to you, and I know you're strong. We talked. You got a good head on your shoulders, but I'm just saying, 24/7. If it's an issue, you just call because this stuff wears you down. But we're trying to create a battlefield that can support you, and you're bearing a cross for a lot of people. Unfortunately, that's unfortunate. But after talking to you and hearing you, if you have the right support system of check in, check up, check out, and we can move this forward, you can weather the storm. So just hang in there, man. And thank you, everybody, for supporting this. I appreciate it. When Shane brought this to me, I'm like, yeah, we got to do this. It just pissed me off. And I got a hold of MAGA and Iceman and like, yeah, we're all in. So thank you guys for doing that. Carmen, you're always the representative. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm going to holster it here. And hopefully this moves forward because this is a big deal, like Shane's talking about. And the people in this room or space or whatever you want to call it, if they think, well, it's not in my circuit, you know what? If you think that way, you really need to start thinking different, because I work with attorneys all the time and they do research on case law nationally, and they use that case law to get their cases won. So I'll just say this: God bless y'all. Thank you for doing this. God bless Sarah and her family. Walker, God bless you. Hang in there, man. You got my number. Anytime, it's fine. Thank you very much for doing this, everyone. And let's go on it. Let's get this handled.
Thanks, Three Tier. Yeah, every time there's a misinterpretation of the law that leads to a charge or conviction, it becomes a perpetual problem down the road for everyone. And we have to be the auditors of this and say, no, this is incorrect. You have to call it out, because if you don't, it will create a precedent, and it'll create a pattern where, I've been in front of judges before, and I literally had to make them look up something, and they refused to look it up because they just didn't have the time, and they believed they knew what it was. And I said, no, you need to show me the actual law, and they wouldn't do it, and then they dismissed my case. It was actually a real case. And what I was astounded at was that he gave an opinion, and then I made him, I said, look, you need to show me the law where it states that, and he refused to do it, and then everybody kind of chuckled, and he was put on the spot. And this literally happened. He dismissed the case because he refused to look it up. He knew that he was just operating on his own, kind of outside the law, on the borders of the law, maybe the fine line, if you will, thinking he could get away with it. And you have to audit them and call them on it and say no. So I wanted to touch back with Carmen. Carmen, did you have your hand up? I thought you did. Maybe you're just 100%ing or something, and your hand went up. Did you have something to add?
I did, Matt. Thanks for coming back to me. I really wanted to just say this. I think, I think anyone in here that is capable and able to donate, please do so. It's a good cause, and I think it's a good cause for the future, and the generation, and for the future of Walker. His future, and I think that's what we're mainly here for is his future. I don't want to look at this as a political thing. I want to look at this as Walker's life and him moving forward in his life, being able to find a wife, and if that's a choice, a wife and children, and just move forward and let it go. So that's the main strategy here. And Walker, I want to say this to you. I think you're chosen by God, to obviously, he knew you could handle this fight, along with a wonderful, blessed mother, Sarah, standing by your side. And with that, you know I cannot do anything alone. We together can. And God always ensures that the strongest ones have the stronger ones standing beside them. And so I think that, we can say I've always used the poster child thing, but I think you're God's child. You were God, you were chosen one, and this is something that needed to come up. And I hate that it happened to you, but obviously I do believe in my heart, my soul, and my gut that God spoke to me and said, he is mine and he is my chosen one. And he has a mother that is standing beside him day in and day out and fighting until the end of the times, and family backing her up as well. And you. And you're in so many people's thoughts and prayers just through this space tonight that it's going to broaden. And I mean, I've reached out to groups and groups and groups, and I'm putting that information out there. And the most important thing is, if you cannot donate any kind of money, that's okay. What you can do is continue to spread this message, continue to spread the links to be able to get that out there into your community, because you do not want this coming to your community. Just because it's not in your community today, don't mean it won't be there tomorrow. And I think we can go back and reference this with the children, what's going on with the kids in our society today. It wasn't in your community one day, but the next week it was. So we don't want to see this happen again to anyone else. And we definitely want to support Walker as much as possible. Shane, thank you so much for coming in, taking your time out, speaking tonight. I appreciate it, all the information, and you know what, Shane, just giving us a little, like a little bit of who Walker really is, and so that right there connected me immediately. And I wish I was close by because I would run up and give him just a really big bear hug and like a good old fashioned, like Sarah does every night, I'm sure, and every time she sees him, a good old, like a mom hug, because I'm a mother and I have 2 children, and I would be doing what Sarah's doing, and nothing would back me down. And so I wanted to say that. And Sarah, God bless you. My prayers are with you and your husband and the children, and with Walker. Rob, you're amazing. Thank you. God bless you. People come into our lives for a reason. Things happen for a reason, and we learn things through the process. So I think you have done an amazing job, and I mean, there's nothing more I can say but then thank you. And with that being said, I just hope the whole space tonight remembers that we need to remain positive. And if there is a time and a place where we need to go and show up and go out there, and like Marlon said, we remain peaceful, we spread love, we show respect, but we get our points across. And you can do all of that at the same time. And that's one thing that I think that we all have to turn to and say, this is what God would want us to do, and we're backing this young man, but we're going to show up and we're going to be peaceful about it. But we can also be peaceful about it by continuing to spread this on platforms, guys. Internet, social media platforms, all those platforms that you're on and all those groups you're in. Get this message out, get this story out. This is a real life story. We have a family in here, and we need to remember our family. My family is your family. Your family is my family. Love thy neighbor. You're my neighbor. God bless you, Sarah. God bless you, Walker. We love you. Magamission has your back. I have your back. My children are going to have your back. I have people sitting here in the room with me. They have your back. So I thank you all. 3-tier, thank you for coming up. Iceman, Maga, always. Matt, thank you. God bless you for bringing this wonderful space tonight. And Marlon, thank you as well. I see Reverend Tim in the house. I do have to say hello, Reverend Tim. God bless you. And with that being said, just remember, if you can't give $1, if you can't give 5, it's okay. At least give something. And that's giving your time to spread this message and spread Walker's message to get out there to other people. And Walker, I know you're down there, and I thank you for the follow back. And if you ever need anything, Walker, I'm here. I'm here. All of us are here. It is a tough process. My process was a little different than yours, but I think our pain is still the same. The journey's a little different. The pain is still the same. The awaiting, the wondering, the anxiety, the anxiousness. If. And so I just want you to know that I'm a 43-year-old woman, and I'm a lot older than you, but I went through this process before. So if you ever need anyone to talk to or some advice on how I got through it, I am always one call away. So you can DM me. Your mom can DM me. Sarah, that goes for you as well. If you need anyone to talk to just to get things off your mind, I would love to talk to you. God bless you and your family. And I'll end it there. But remember, guys, we can always get involved at any level. So we just need to get this done. Thanks.
Okay, real quick. Carbon, you rock it always. Thank you for your very sincere, heartfelt empathy. Love you, girl. We got Rev Tim in the house. So when Shane's done speaking, I think Rev Tim should say a prayer for Walker and his family, if he will.
So, whoever's controlling this, you guys see Walker down? Walker Anderson. Can you see him down there?
Yeah, he's still down there.
Can you bring him up as a speaker, or do you need Broom?
We have plenty of room.
Hold on. Should he be speaking?
All right.
No. What he wants to say, he just texted me, and I said, yes, you can say that. So it's a really simple, short statement, number one.
All right, let's
All
do
right.
that. As long as he's good, right?
No, but he's going to wrap this up. So I think
I'll drop.
No, I don't think
No,
anybody.
nobody
Okay.
has to go anywhere. We have room. We have
Please,
room.
please, everybody, Walker is up on the floor now. Shane.
No. So hold on a minute. All right. So I think. All right, we lost somebody here. No, Rob is here. Rob is down to listener. I was gonna give Rob a shameless plug, to ask him to do it. So he's part of Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. Please support them as well. He's done a lot of amazing work, but also support Rob Dorr, follow him, whatever. He's doing more things in his own life that is really, really important. And Rob, give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me right now, because I think he's going to do a lot of really good things going forward because he's got a great legal mind and he's incredibly brilliant. And he's helped with a lot of things, especially in this arena. So since he's no longer a speaker, I'm just going to speak it for him. And so then if Rev Tim Christopher wants to say something, but then like at the end of this, because we all have to get going, many of us do, but let Walker just say his last piece, if you will, whatever he's going to say. I gave him I don't believe, and I didn't ask for permission, but I think I'm right okay with this one and what he wants to say. So Tim, if you want to go now, go ahead.
No, Tim is offering a closing prayer to the room.
Yeah.
If Walker is allowed to say anything and
All right,
his mom
okay,
concurs,
Walker, go
he
ahead and
has a mic.
say Walker, go ahead and say what it is you texted me that you want to say, and keep it concise to what you wanted to say.
All right. Hey, everyone. I've been listening this whole time, and I am truly grateful that you've all came together in this space and are sharing my message and all the prayers and all the love you've shown. It keeps me going. This has been a very long year and a half that I've kind of been alone in this, and the fact that I've got people across the country that are here coming together, spending their Tuesday evening to help some small town boy that's dealing with some stuff that's amazing. That really it brings back faith in our country, and I love all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well
Walker.
done, Walker. Well done. Okay, Rev, go ahead.
Hey, really quick, thank you, Walker. Amazing words from a young man. Wow, you are you are who they say you are. So God bless you, and we're honored to have you here with us tonight. And we will be praying and remember your mom, Sarah, and we are all here for you. So remember that. And Rebs.
If I may, please, can I just say thanks for Walker coming up? I really appreciate your bravery. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Walker. And hang in there. We're all rooting for you, okay? You're not alone. Thanks. Go ahead, Rev.
Hey, how you doing, room? Everybody in the room. I'm not going to take a bunch of time and shout out everybody in here. I kind of know everybody in here. I didn't know Rob Dorr was going to be here. How you doing, Rob? I definitely got to say hello to him. I'm definitely try to do my best to stay close to Rob, to be part of what Rob is doing for Minnesota. He's part of the reason I am who I am today. Rob gave me the opportunity to testify every time we are testifying on a gun control, all that crap that they're out there. So, Rob is one of the reasons I'm even in the space at all. So what he does here in Minnesota, I'm 110%. But let's do this here, people, tonight. Let's go out this way. Father God, we come to you like we always do. Father, we come to you as your people. We come to you with humble hearts, Father, and we come to you with bowed heads on tonight. We come to you for this young man here, Walker, and his family and those who are around him that's affected by the things that's going on. We realize and understand that the devil is here to kill, steal, and destroy. And we also realize and understand, Father, that you are there to protect us. So I ask you right here, right now, Father, I ask you to open up your wings and pull Walker and his family in, Father. Let them know that you're always going to be there. And no matter what happens, you're going to stand right there with him. Let him know that you're going to be in this fight with him. He's got his shield and he's got his sword. He's got his breastplate. He's got his helmet. He's got his boots and he's ready to go. I ask you to keep his family up, keep them up in spirit. I ask you to keep them up, keep their hearts up. I ask if anytime the family get down, let them know that you're right there with them. Give them a wink. I ask you to open up the window of heaven and pour these blessings out to this man, to this family, to those around him, to those friends. And I ask that you make sure that he understand and realize that all he have to do is to call on our Savior, Jesus, his Christ, him on himself. And whatever he asks of Jesus, Jesus will go to you and tell you, and that will be given. I'm going to say this here to Walker. Walker, hey, if anything I can do for you, you need a prayer, you need anything, you let me know, man. I think everybody in this room is going to walk with this whole situation with you, because what happens to you affects us all. And as far as I'm concerned, in the 2A family, we're one and one and one. All right. Hey, y'all have a good night. And I'm going to land my plane there.
Thank you, Rev. Love you, brother. Really appreciate you.
So to that, Reverend, you couldn't have nailed it better. I'll see you on just July 21st. We have a date. You don't remember it, but we do. And that was well said.
Oh, I do
and
remember.
Walker,
Hey, Shane.
no,
I
just
remember that.
Yeah, no,
Because
you're.
you owe me some
I gotta
food.
pay for it.
You owe me that. That's right. That's why I remember.
So,
well, I got
for
to
those
pay
of you
for.
that don't know,
I got to pay
outside of
for
the Second
Carmen's
Amendment
food too.
stuff, if we don't win our elections back, we're kind of screwed on everything anyway. So I have Scott Presser coming to Minnesota, and he's doing a thing on the 22nd, and so we have a prime rib dinner on the 21st. And I invited Reverend Tim to come enjoy that too. It's smoked prime rib, by the way. So anybody who wants to come join, please feel free. I'm not paying for all of it, but I'll pay for most of it. Because I can be kind of screwed that if everybody showed up. Oh, Walker just sent me a text. All right, so apparently I'm paying for Walker's too. Fair enough. Well, more the merrier, right? Let's break bread and water. Let's just do it like the last meal or something. I don't know. And let's get it
Shane,
up.
Shane, I'm a lucky man because I get to go see Carmen coming up pretty soon in July also. Then I turn around and get to go see you guys. So I'm in good company, Shane.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Rev, I'm supposed to be on your podcast. We haven't figured that out. Carmen comes down.
I was got day 3 we're gonna get that going.
So while we're still here, wait a minute, wait. While we're still here, Nate, I'm gonna DM you. I want to talk to you privately. You're still listening, I believe. Give me a thumbs up, something.
Wait a minute. 3-tier. I'm gonna see Rev Tim before you, and then I'm gonna go and speak and and I'm gonna give Sarah and Walker a really big hug and take them to dinner. So I think I'm winning here. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Shane.
Well, that's all fine, but Nate, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna DM you.
He's only gonna respond if you're buying.
Well, that's fine. I'm not flying him out here though, because he's like many states away. I got to fly Scott Pressler here, so I got to pay for that thing. So come on, I got enough expense right now. Anyway, either way, Rev, good prayer. I know Walker appreciates this. I'm glad that he came up. He's still here, and I will, as soon as we get off this phone or off this space, I will be talking to him because we got to talk about my transmission, I should say, not tranny, because we got to clarify that now, apparently. But beside that, anyway, I know he appreciates this. I know Sarah does. I actually put a picture down in the bubble where Sarah's dog had my shirt on in the parade last Saturday. It was the cutest thing. It's a puppy. It's like 8 months old. It's bigger than a puppy by most standards, but whatever. And I had never met Sarah before, but what a gem. And she is totally mama bear right now for Walker. Walker's younger brother is the same age as my daughter. I've known these kids for a long time. They were kids then. So Walker's not a kid anymore. I have to emphasize that he's a young man. He's facing a lot of like nonsense. And that's the whole point of this whole space is he is facing something that he should not be. He actually called and clarified before he did what he did. And I don't think Sarah pointed that out this time. She did it on the radio the other day. But he called and clarified with ATF, can I do this? And they gave him like the parameters of what you can or cannot do. He violated none of that. And the whole thing is absolute bullshit. And I don't care. I'm an elected person. Once in a while, I'm a trade guy, so I do curse once in a while, or more often than not. Walker knows that. But this whole thing is bullshit. So I can't get in the middle of calling the sheriff or the county attorney or whatever. And I can't use my influence that way. I get all that. I can sit and defend this young man all day long as my friend. Well, maybe a constituent. I don't even want to call him a constituent because he's way beyond that. And not only that, but his entire family. I know them all. Not all of them, but I mean many of them. My daughter used to have the hots on his younger brother, but I wasn't allowed to talk about that either. But that's a whole different story. Point is, they're part of the community. I know this young man. I would not be standing next to him if I thought he was in any way outside of the law or did something wrong. And I've had many experts look at this, people way beyond my skill set. And the whole thing is complete BS. It's all political. So we have to make sure that he is not the next Riley Gaines of swimming, fighting thing for the Second Amendment in this case, which is where I think he could possibly end up. I think he's got the gumption to do it, but I don't know. I cautioned him heavily on going public with this because I'm like, this could turn ugly. He was willing to do it. He's got a little fortitude in that regard. So God bless you, Walker. You know how I think about you, and I don't know. Maybe I should sing happy birthday to you, but I'll do that offline. That would be kind of awkward right now. Either way, so just $5-10, something. We need to show the numbers more than anything. That this prosecuting attorney, which is an assistant attorney, whatever the hell they call them, she needs to see that she's fighting an uphill battle. And then maybe she'll dip out and go, yeah, well, this was probably a bad idea. I don't know.
Hey Shane, check your DM also.
I'll do that. But with that, and Reverend Tim, this is a huge battle because I know you're a big Second Amendment guy. We don't agree on everything all the time, but we are going to agree on that prime rib that I promised you. So when Scott gets here, I guess we're going to do that too. I might even invite Walker up to that too. So apparently he may have sent me a text saying he wants to be invited. I don't know. I might have to buy him one too. Whatever. But it'll be a good night. And we're going to learn how to turn this around and just keep moving forward with getting rid of all this nonsense. Because right now we have like no common sense. There's none left. Tim lives in North Minneapolis, so it's like it's turning into Detroit faster than not. And he actually stands out and he actually walks the streets at night, and he does a lot of stuff. And he's an amazing man, and he does things I wouldn't do, but he's out there, and he and I talk, here and there. And
I'm down here right now, Shane. You should come down, and I'm on the corner of Lindell and Broadway. You should come on, hang out with me.
Oh,
can you
here
imagine?
we go. Let's go.
That would probably not work out so well, but nevertheless, I'm an hour and a half away. But either way, but thank God you do what you do, and God bless you for that. Try to do your best to protect your community, which is what he does. So either way, Walker, I hope, and Sarah, you both know, out of all this whole thing, that there are many people who are talking about all of you two, and obviously it all comes down to Walker, but Mama Bear, it's sort of just know there's all of this out there, and we'll continue to do this. So I gotta tap out, and I will call you, Walker, shortly, and then because I gotta get going. I have multiple calls left, and I'm sure Rob's gotta get on to other things as well. I can't believe Rob hang on this long. So anyway, we'll talk soon.
You know what? I'm going to tap out too. Reverend Tim, thanks for your prayer. We got to touch base and connect and deal with our whole thing, because I got to get on before Carmen. And I'm glad we can throw some humor into this, because life is so stressful every day. You got to have a little fun. But I will say this, that I appreciate your prayer and jumping in here and really just giving some words of protection upon Walker's family and him. Shane, thanks for following up on all this, that we can make this happen. Thank you, Matt and Iceman, for dealing with the jumping back and forth to make it happen. I mean, you guys facilitated this. I mean, it was an effort, and it's such a great thing that we have people that care about other people, right? Like, this is like you're disconnected, but you're kind of connected in theory. But yeah, just thank you all. God bless you all. Thank you for supporting this. And Walker, I'm going to call you, man. I'm going to check in and check out. Sarah, if you want to talk, I gave you the number. Your family's going to go through a lot of stress through this. I've been through this in my career. I've helped many families through it. It's tough. But whatever I can do to support y'all, we're going to do it. Retweet the room, follow each other. And I mean, it's kind of the deal. Like, God bless us all. And we got to stand up for each other. So
Thanks, Three Tier.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I didn't really get a chance to say my thanks to Reverend Tim. Reverend Tim, you're an amazing man, and you seem to show up at the right time. And once again, divine will, you did it again. And God bless you, sir. And it's always a blessing to have him say a prayer in your room. I don't know any room where I've ever been in where Reverend Tim has given us a blessing, and I just didn't feel better after he spent some time with us. You're an amazing man, Reverend Tim. Love you so much, and I hope you can feel that through this phone, right where you're at right now. Sending you my love. And I want to also thank the legacy speakers, Nate Kane, and I do see Derek down there. Hello, Derek. Good to see you. Shane, thank you for bringing this to the public's attention. Three Tier, thank you for facilitating some of this and bringing this to the attention of the public, because we need to know this. And like you said, across America, there are cases like this, similar. This one's unique. I have to say, this one is definitely unique, but there are people being railroaded all over America, and we're just not aware of it. I wasn't aware until just recently. So thank you for bringing awareness to this, Shane. And this is the kind of stuff that we need to do. This is the kind of things that the American people need to know. And I'm just so thankful for everybody that showed up tonight and spoke with us, especially Ice and Carmen and everyone else that maybe I didn't mention. Mike Boston from NOAA, Jamie from NOAA, Michael from NOAA, everybody. And Marlon, you want to put a bow on this since that's your favorite saying? Put a bow on it, Marlon.
Hey, Sarah, I want to welcome you into the community. We do have lots of other rooms. You want to come in and just hang out. It's it's good to hear. There's a lot of like-minded people. Really getting exposed to the people at NOAA and getting it out online. It should make a lot of difference. So I'm sure you'll start to feel it. Please come back, and it would be great to have you up on the stage again. So thanks again.
Yeah, just again, real quick, I also want to say thank you to Sarah as well. And Walker, God bless you, and we're rooting for you, and we're behind you. So you're not alone. And just so that you know that, DMs are always open. You can contact me, Marlon, anyone up here. We'd be more than happy to talk to you and help you through this. And also to you, Sarah, that invitation is open. You can talk to us anytime. We do need to close the room. It is getting pretty late. Does anybody have any last thoughts? Iceman, Carmen, did you want to say anything, Iceman, before we close? Or Carmen?
Ladies
I'll
before
just say
gentlemen.
God bless everybody. I'm sorry, Iceman. Gosh, I always do that.
I set
I
you
just want
guys
to say
up for
God
that. I'm
bless you.
sorry.
God bless you, Reverend Tim. Thanks for coming in. You do pop. God is good. That's all I'm going to say. God is good. And we have to remember that. We have to stand on that foundation. We have to allow God to guide us and listen to Him and ensure that we are listening to Him and we are not doing our will, but His will, and putting that front and forward. And Walker, I do believe that He has you. I know He has you. Actually, you are His child. So I want to say, God bless you, Walker. You're a strong young man. Obviously, got that from your mom. I can tell she is a strong fighter as well. So, Sarah, God bless you. And that's just really all I wanted to say. I love each and every one of you guys. Magamission.org is at the top. Go check it out, sign up, and stay informed with with information like this space tonight and what's going on moving forward and other information that's provided on the website. But God bless you all, and thanks for sharing this. I think, Walker, you have got a huge family now that's going to be standing behind you all the way. So I'm proud to be a part of it. Sarah, same to you.
And I'd like to thank 3Tier for asking us to get involved in his mission. And it is now Shane's mission, thereby making it our mission. Walker, personally to you, happy birthday. May you have many more, and may you go on to fulfill all of your dreams. Put this behind you and make the best of it. To those that have come in here and just stopped in to say hello and listen, thank you very much. The fact that you stayed here shows your support for what we're doing. Even if you don't take a mic, the fact that you spent 3 hours with us, oh my God, almost 4 hours, maybe 5. I don't know. I'm a little brain shot. It's been a long day. But most of the people in this room have stuck here, whether they've taken a mic or just listened. So obviously we do provide value. And we do provide support for anyone who needs it. And that's about all I got to say, other than last thought is Reverend Tim. Everybody says the same thing. You pop up at just the right time, sir. It was a pleasure hearing you again. And God bless everyone, your families, your friends. To those in the trucking community, make sure you keep the rubber where it belongs. And I'm going to throw it to the host for the absolute last words of the evening.
Thank you, Ice. I couldn't follow up better than you said it so well. And I just want to, again, thank everybody. And we will see you soon Please check out Marlon's Space in the morning, Monday through Friday. And we do have Defending Self-Defense typically on Tuesday. And it's usually around 4:30. And we do case studies and other things like that. But I just want to say thanks. And I'm going to end it right now. And I want to wish everybody a wonderful evening. And God bless you. And Godspeed and good night. Thank you.